Chapter 228, Mystery Kid. Chapter 228, Mystery Kid. The four scheming demons were now thrilled, holding a much stronger unity tactic than the one they used before. But then Scrooge Demon suddenly said, Steward Joie, if it's of no trouble, could you perhaps, maybe pay us back for the bone staff? Ha ha ha, no worries. Joie Fan nodded. Scrooge Demon is a miser after all. He just got a better unity tactic for free yet still wants compensation for the 5th grade spiritual weapon. But since they were his men now, Joie Fan would naturally listen to their requests. Joie Fan sent Li Jingtian after the pieces of the black staff. He then added some diamond sand and in the azure flame, the staff was instantly restored, even improved upon. The four scheming demons were jumping in joy for having their spiritual weapon back. Perhaps the excitement got to his head or he was just plain petty, but Scrooge Demon pointed at Li Jingtian without an ounce of shame. Steward Joie, could you also give me that old guy's ring and clothes? What for? Joie Fan asked. Chuckling, Scrooge Demon spoke as a matter of factly, we just lost them because we went unconscious. How else could that old guy take them from me? Blast it, they were mine to begin with, you hear? Li Jingtian flew into a rage. You little shit, what kind of logic is that? They are yours once they exchange hands. Joie Fan's face sank. Your twisted characters won't change, but you are never to use them on my men. Or else. I know, Steward Joie, I will think better of him from now on. Noticing Joie Fan's displeasure, and in fear of having the bug in his stomach go topsy-turvy, Violent Demon shouted in plea for mercy, he, please excuse him. If he doesn't get to steal what he fancies, he'll sulk for a few days. Joie Fan's cheek twitched, that just means he's really stingy. From now on do not touch what isn't yours. Violent Demon saw Scrooge Demon's eyes still fixed on Li Jingtian, shouting and turning his head forcefully. But that stubborn face had the duo not know how to respond to it. Among these four weirdos, Scrooge Demon is the worst. I'll have to enforce extra security to stop this damn kleptomaniac. Clap. Joie Fan got their attention, but Scrooge Demon was still very depressed. Joie Fan ignored him. Listen well. We are now going to Thunder Swarm Mountain, so you will be leading us since you know the way. But, the four shook their heads hesitantly. We can't. Joie Fan frowned. Why? Steward Joie, did you forget? We promised a child to get him an ingredient. The four scheming demons are demonic heroes of indomitable spirit, how can we disappoint him? Joie Fan eyes them deeply and nodded. If it were others, he'd be forcing them along. But these four weirdos were hardly honorable. If he left the four the impression he was about to force them out of their promise, without setting a precedent, wouldn't teaching them later be impossible? Pausing, Joie Fan said, fine, we will first find the kid, give him the ingredient then go to Thunder Swarm Mountain. Steward Joie, you really have it? The four eyes shined. Joie Fan nodded, of course. The four started whispering among each other and let out a strange laughter. Violent Demon even raised his head smug, you see? I told you flying people had the ingredient on them and I was right in attacking them. Eldest bro is brilliant. Hi, the other three gave thumbs up. Joie Fan felt unwell for some reason. Their behavior raised many flags. But then again, this was their usual manner so he let it slide. And so, Joie Fan and Li Jingtian followed the four demons westward, reaching a tall mountain half a day later. In the sunset's glow, an 8-year-old kid sat on a meter-tall rock. He put something in his mouth from time to time and chewed. As if noticing the newcomers, the kid's ears moved, and turned his head, revealing his sparkling eyes. But Joie Fan's heart shuddered at the sight. As if a savage beast had set its gaze on him. His feeling that something was off only grew stronger. What's going on here? Why is a child not even a decade old making me feel such danger? Li Jingtian's eyes widened and said, Steward Joie, the child is in the 2nd layer of radiant stage. What? Crying out, Joie Fan was incredulous. How was a kid such an expert? Another pygmy? But taking a closer look, he had quite the delicate features. If an old freak would have used his cultivation to keep his youth, it was still impossible to take the same appearance as this child. That left him with only one possibility: the child reached the radiant stage from a young age. Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian exchanged a glance of shock. Then also turned a vigilant eye to the four demons. These little shits only said they lost a bet with a kid, but not once mentioned he was a radiant stage expert. Was it on purpose? Why? Zhuo Fan squinted and his fists tightened. The kid didn't get up, still sitting on the rock as he spoke. You four are finally back. If you'd have been any later, I'd assume you ran away and make me go after you. The four shook like a leaf, quite afraid of him. Not only Wimp Demon, but even Sly Demon and Scrooge Demon. They all ducked behind Violent Demon, whose legs were quivering. We would never do that. We ran twice already and don't dare do it again. Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian were in shock. How were the great four demons holding a kid in such fear? Was this second layer of radiant stage expert stronger than them who were a layer higher and using unity tactic? The 3 days are almost up. Did you bring the ingredient? The kid turned a blind eye to Zhuo Fan and Elderly and spoke coldly to the demons, like the judge about to hand over his sentence. The four shivered and gnawed and pointed at Zhuo Fan. They have it. Just search them. Zhuo Fan's face sank. He knew he just got sold out and was now looking into the kid's cold eyes. Take it out. The youth extended his hand. Zhuo Fan sensed no ill will from him and approached him. He noticed that the kid was holding a 4th-grade ingredient, purple root. The kid bit out of the purple root from time to time as he approached, chewing it like a snack. Zhuo Fan's heart was in shock. He's eating an alchemy ingredient before it's even refined. Even a radiant stage expert would have his meridians explode doing such a ridiculous thing. Yet the kid was just peachy, as if he could refine the ingredient naturally. Monster. It was Zhuo Fan's first time using this word on others, having gotten used to others usually using it on him. The kid then spoke before Zhuo Fan even took out the ingredient. Do you have any 5th grade or higher ingredients? The taste of these 4th grade ones is so flat. I'm tired of having this thing. Zhuo Fan's mouth twitched, picky brat. His hand flashed and revealed a snow-white mountain ginseng. This is a 5th grade ingredient, a 10,000 years old snow ginseng. It should fit your tastes. The kid's eyes lit up and snatched it pleased. It's been so long since I've tasted such a good ingredient. Curse those damn bastards in yellow. They only feed me slops. I almost died of hunger. Yellow? Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan sank in thought. Who is he talking about? The only ones among the 7 houses are Regent Estate who wear yellow. But his thought didn't get far as the kid took a bite of the ginseng, then showed an exasperatingly pleased expression. You 4 earned 3 more days of living. Go and search again. If you can't find anything, your heads will fall. The 4 demons were ecstatic and prostrated. Hold on. Zhuo Fan waved them off. Why do I feel you enslaved them? Wasn't it a bet and losing it made them search for an ingredient? Frowning, the kid was growing angry. Bet? I loathe gambling. The one time I ever bet, I lost. It forced me to eat wretched ingredients every day. From then on I vowed never to bet again. Then, Zhuo Fan wondered, why were the 4 demons helping him with ingredients? The kid spoke matter-of-factly. I caught these 4 pillaging their 4th city and was about to get rid of them. But they were willing to go around searching for ingredients in my stead, so I let them go for now. Besides, I am missing a few hands and can understand the saying, many hands make light work. I'd feel ashamed taking their lives after eating their ingredients. But since their crimes are too serious, they are to give me an ingredient every 3 days. They will keep doing this for as long as my trip outside lasts. This is also a means for them to atone. Zhuo Fan was startled. Why does it feel this kid is no less the weirdo the other 4 are? What does giving you ingredients have to do with their pillaging crimes? When he heard the kid spoke of stopping the 4 demons pillaging, he thought he was a typical righteous cultivator, helping the poor and all that. When in fact, the kid was the same as these 4 from the start, enslaving others to do his bidding. just that he used it under the guise of punishing evil. Shit, 4 vile people and a hypocrite. None of them are any good. Then again, it doesn't seem I'm made of better cloth either. Zhuofan scratched his nose. How about we make a deal? The 4 are now under me, so I will give you 10 5th-grade ingredients to let them leave with me. What do you say? 10. The kid's eyes lit up and drooled. But then he paused, revealing a sly grin. Since you have so many ingredients, you're not going anywhere. You'll stay right here and search for ingredients just as well. Eyes twitching, Zhuofan's face sank. Why, you greedy little piece of... Chapter 229, Tianyu's Strongest, Invincible Scamp. Chapter 229, Tianyu's Strongest, Invincible Scamp. Taking slow steps back, Zhuofan's cold eyes stared at the kid. Little brother, I won't take you for an ignorant child since you're a radiant stage expert. Are you going to force me into servitude? Pillagers belong in prison, so it's only fitting they do some community service for a bit. But that was done by those 4. What's it got to do with me? Birds of a feather flock together. Since you're on the same side as them, then you're no better. A little punishment is only natural. Squinting, Zhuofan eyed that naive smile on the child, and grew angry. You can't go back once you started things. I do not like hitting children, but if... want to hit me? Good. But let me warn you. I have no wish to kill you, so I will give you all 10 chances to challenge me. If you can win just once, I'll let you all go. The kid hooked his finger and beamed. Zhuofan walked back to Li Jingtian, but his eyes were more and more serious as he watched the kid. He may be in the 2nd layer of radiant stage, but the kid was as calm as ever, even in the face of 4 people 1 layer stronger and another 4 layers stronger. He was confident in his victory. And how the 4 scheming demons were so scared of him. His power couldn't be judged based on his low cultivation. Zhuofan whispered to the 4 demons, how is his power? Is he strong, weak? The 4 demons looked at each other, and Violent Demon said cautiously, he is very strong, but still not able to beat me. The fact is, this kid is very sharp, picking the weakness of our 4 hearts formation with one look. How else could he defeat us? Zhuofan nodded, I see. How else could the 4 enter servitude if not having their unity tactic crushed? But to be sure, Zhuofan gave Li Jingtian a signal. Elderly, you have to go all out on the kid. Hold nothing back. You have to kill him, and with how odd this kid is, the 4 demons' words can't be trusted either. We can't afford to lose because of them. Li Jingtian nodded, bloodthirst setting into his gaze. He suddenly roared and released billowing black energy. His immense power made the sky and earth tremble alike. The 4 scheming demons were able to confuse Li Jingtian thanks to their 4 hearts formation, stopping him from releasing his full might. They now realized how terrifying Li Jingtian was. If Li Jingtian had gone all out from the start, Violent Demon would have been long dead, in one move even. This would ultimately prevent the 4 brothers from using 4 hearts formation. The 4 united could break steel, while scattered were like grass. But the kid was still sitting on that rock with arms crossed and unafraid. Not one change in his expression was seen. This made Zhuofan frown. Is he faking it or truly belittling Li Jingtian? If it were the latter, the kid's power had to be huge. Wraith style, first move, soaring demonic dragon. Roar! With a dragon roar, Li Jingtian shot at the kid, surrounded by a black dragon image bearing its fangs and claws, ready to rip him to pieces. Explosions were heard with every step he took, even from the air. It seemed as if the space couldn't hold his power. The rocks around him were pulverized as well. So strong. Even Zhuofan admired Li Jingtian. This martial fanatic was a true fit for Wraith art. Its power was displayed fully in the hands of this man, showing shocking phenomenons. But the bad feeling never left Zhuofan. The kid was just too calm, not putting Li Jingtian in his eyes. What's going on? Even a peak radiant stage would show some reaction. But the kid... Yawning just as Li Jingtian got to him, The kid's reaction to this expert's incredible display of power was to extend a hand. A groan had everyone watched slack-jawed. Li Jingtian's mighty power was stopped as simple as that by a boy's hand. The black dragon image threw a fit behind Li Jingtian, wanting to break out of its shackles, but the kid had the dragon powerless under his thin arm. Even the world started taking different hues. On one side, Li Jingtian's power was still going strong, causing a veritable storm to blow over, while on the other, there was only peace and serenity behind the boy. Even sunshine warmed the gentle nature. The black dragon's onslaught held no sway here. How is this possible? Zhuo Fan watched agape. This may very well be the very first time someone thoroughly shocked him. Li Jingtian was sweating buckets, doing his damnedest in getting out of this child's hold. It was the same as a crazed bull meeting a 100-meter-tall cliff. Regardless of the raw power it had, it couldn't budge the cliff 1 inch. The kid grinned. First attempt. The kid grabbed Li Jingtian's arm and just threw him. Boom! A huge rock was blown to rubble. Zhuo Fan and the 4 demons were shocked and jumped in the air. Once the dust settled, the view made them gasp. The huge rock was flattened in an instant, and Li Jingtian struggled to crawl from beneath the rubble. He spat blood and fear crept into his gaze. Only he who met the kid head-on knew the dread he instilled. In front of the weird kid's eyes, he looked like a baby, easy to kill as if lifting a finger. This was his first time ever Mad Dipper experienced such powerlessness. Zhuo Fan and the others were watching bug-eyed in fear and shock. None saw it coming, that a pup had such insane amount of power. Not even in the sacred domain Zhuo Fan saw such freaks. Li Jingtian was in the 6th layer of Radiant Stage and a body cultivator genius while using a profound ranked martial art. He had enough power to face a peak Radiant Stage expert. But today, before a mere boy in the 2nd layer of Radiant Stage, he was powerless. The kid didn't use any kind of martial art, only the power of his hand to topple and throw Li Jingtian. What kind of freaky power is this? Zhuo Fan paled, watching the air with a blank mind. There, the kid happily sat in mid-air, with the mountain ruined. I'll be waiting for you on that peak. Don't forget, 3 days. Oh, and your 10 ingredients? Zhuo Fan wiped his brow, shivering as he took the ingredients for the boy. The kid was delighted as he took them. You're not bad, kiddio. The more ingredients you find, the invincible scamp, Gu Santong, will reward you heavily. Then he vanished into thin air. Zhuo Fan bobbed his head on, and only after hitting his chest did the shivering stop. He sighed, God, that monster is insanely powerful. Steward Zhuo, who did he say he was? The wounded Li Jingtian swayed in his flight to Zhuo Fan. His eyes were incredulous. Zhuo Fan frowned. He seemed to have called himself, Invincible Scamp, Gu Santong. What, you know him elderly? Holy Mother of God! No wonder I lost so miserably. Of all the rotten luck, why did I have to meet that devil? How could I be so blind? Li Jingtian slapped his head, regretting so much he was close to tears. Zhuo Fan asked hurriedly, just who is this Gu Santong? Hi, for Steward Zhuo to not know even the likes of invincible scamp Gu Santong, you must be dumber than a rock. A creepy snicker came from behind Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan's temple popped a vein, his mouth twitched and glared at the 4 demons. You knew who he was and what he was capable of, didn't you? Damn right we knew. We are demonic heroes, knowing all the experts in Tianyu. With how renowned this devil is, how couldn't we recognize him? You think everyone's a bonehead like you? Violent demons snickered and laughed at the two's misfortune. Zhuo Fan tightened his fists and cooled his anger. Then, did you make us come here on purpose, and face that devil? Moreover, that bet was fake, right? Hi, of course. We are demonic heroes, never done a good thing in our lives. We were so angry when that devil suppressed us and had no way to vent. But got you to join in too, and seeing you suffer brings a tear of joy in my eyes. And have you ever seen a demonic cultivator holding one's end of a bet? You got served, ha. The 4 scheming demons danced in joy and made a mockery out of Zhuofan. Zhuofan popped another vein, red from anger. Never thought the clever him, the cunning him, would be had by a bunch of schmucks. God damn it! Caw! Zhuofan's finger moved and made a sign. The 4 were now sporting bloody marks on their forehead, wailing on the ground from pain and begging for mercy. But Zhuofan held no pity for them. If I don't put these little shits in their place, they'll be the death of me. Li Jingtian watched the 4's pain in silence. They were total retards. They knew their lives were in the hands of another yet still dared to fool him. They only had themselves to blame for this. Now that they were also caught in the middle with invincible scamp Gu Santong, he knew they were in deep trouble now. Li Jingtian frowned and sighed. Chapter 230, The Legend of a Monster. Chapter 230, The Legend of a Monster. Steward Zhuo, we know our wrongs. Spare us. Sly Demon rolled on the ground begging. What Steward Zhuo, it should be Daddy Zhuo. Let us go, we won't do it again. Scrooge Demon was wailing in pain. What Daddy Zhuo, it should be Granddaddy Zhuo. Please. Violent Demon was even crying, but he didn't get to finish as he glared at Scrooge Demon. Then he punched his face. Damn it, you dare take advantage of me? Scrooge Demon held his purple eye, having no clue what happened. But Wimp Demon couldn't take the pain and said, Elder bro, it was the second bro calling him daddy. Then you started calling him granddaddy. Don't blame him. Widening his eyes, Violent Demon cuffed Wimp Demon. Bastard, silence is frickin' golden. Why do you hit me when it was all your fault? Scrooge Demon instantly understood having heard Wimp Demon. He charged with a rage-filled fist. Wimp Demon was glum, and even though he didn't join the hustle and bustle, he circled behind eldest brother and whacked him with a fist whenever he had the chance. Third bro, Sly Demon, who wished for nothing more than to see the chaos blow out of proportions, held his head from the pain while cheering from the side. The 4 thus entered their routine squabble, making it all so lively. Zhuofan's face twitched from all the ruckus, popping a 3rd vein. He never met such hard-to-deal with weirdos. They even had time to quarrel while being tortured by the bloodworm. It seems a bit of pain is not up to your standards. Then how about we kick things up a notch? Zhuofan made another sign. The 4 demons spurted blood and turned blood red all over as they scrambled from the pain. It was so excruciating they hadn't had the mind to quarrel anymore. Zhuofan panted, almost blowing his top at the 4. When he calmed down, he said, Elderly, who is that Gu Santong? Why is he so dreadful? Shaking his head, Li Jingtian sighed, I am not clear either, but legends say Gu Santong is called Invincible Scamp. Undefeated throughout his life. 3 centuries ago, he caused a storm through Tianyu, throwing the empire on the brink of collapse. He later vanished into thin air, never hearing from him since. I never thought we'd meet him here. What, 300 years ago? How is he looking so young if he's so old? Zhuofan was shocked. Li Jingtian was also puzzled, I am not sure either. I only heard rumors about him. If he truly is the invincible scamp, then he is indeed 3 centuries old. Or perhaps, he is Invincible Scamp's descendant, carrying his name. Hi, Invincible Scamp Gu Santong has caused immense waves with his indomitable power at the time, how can someone else have his title? Moreover, you've seen his method, if he is not the real Invincible Scamp, how could you have ended up in such a sorry state? Violent Demon shouted his mockery, while the other demons wailing at the side turned into a creepy combination with snickering in the mix. Li Jingtian caressed his beard and nodded. The 4 little shits' words were mostly senseless blabber, dumb as wood, but they spoke reason, sometimes. He didn't believe there was anyone outside this legendary invincible scamp that could bring him to such a sorry state. Zhuofan snapped a glance at the 4, Elderly doesn't know about Gu Santong, but you do? Damn right. This geezer may be old, but he knows shit having been born way before the war 300 years ago. Violent Demon mocked. Zhua Fan scowled, "You're not much older than elderly, so how do you know then?" He, Steward Zhua, there's something you're missing. When Gu Santong was causing havoc in the empire, he not only shamed the 7 houses, but the entire Tianyu Empire. This made his name taboo to the whole empire. Among the 7 houses, only house lords know of his endeavors, and that only passed through speech from the previous house lords. The elders hardly know a thing about him. And that is because of the shame he represented. Hi. Violent Demon's creepy laughter seemed to mock the 7 houses. Demon's scheming sect is different. Even before Tianyu was in uproar, our elders warned us to not get entangled with this monster. I can only blame our rotten luck to have stumbled on him just as we got out of that wretched place. Ah, woe is me. Having recalled the bitter experience, Violent Demon started crying along with his 3 demons, who were also wailing on top of things. Zhua Fan had it, stop crying and tell the truth for once. All right. The 4 demons' rivers of tears dried up on the spot. We ask that Steward Zhua spares us. Let us clear our thoughts. Zhua Fan squinted and sighed but still made a sign to stop their torture. They then resumed their creepy laughter and jumped in joy. Zhua Fan saw they hadn't learned their lesson even a fraction and he was fuming mad. Explain it to me clearly and I'll forego your previous transgression. Or else. His fingers moved, threatening them with more torture, and they panicked. Steward Zhua, don't worry, we know when to be serious. We won't ever dare fool you again. Zhua Fan nodded satisfied. The 4 looked at each other and Violent Demon was the first to start. As far as we know, invincible scamp Gu Santong's life is an odd one. Simply unheard of. What do you mean? Zhua Fan frowned. Violent Demon shook his head and said, it's so damn baffling that even we don't know the full extent of this oddity. Zhua Fan almost fell and his eyes started spewing flames of rage as he cursed, cut the crap. Carry on to egg me, and I'll give you a world of pain. Zhua Fan was about to do just that when Sly Demon jumped in. Wait, Steward Zhua, eldest bro is serious. Gu Santong is truly baffling that even we know little of him. He just sprung up out of nowhere. With the imperial family, the empire's 3 guardian sects, and the 7 houses' power, not even an ant could have caused such havoc, least of all a man. But isn't it bizarre how Gu Santong just popped up from thin air? Zhua Fan's hand stopped in mid-sign. The 4 demons had some screws loose, most of the time, but Sly Demon was speaking some reason. It was baffling how an unknown powerful devil just showed up like that. From the sacred domain perhaps? Zhua Fan spoke, go on. Violent Demon continued, the kid always had this appearance, that of an 8-year-old boy. But he was only in the 5th layer of Profound Heaven stage at the time. But after 300 years, he is still as young, yet his cultivation increased to the 2nd layer of Radiant stage, quite slow I might add. What never changed all this time is him holding the title of Tianyu's strongest. Before, he was the strongest beneath the Radiant stage and now he is the strongest in the Radiant stage. Oh, that baffling. Raising an eyebrow, Zhua Fan's heart was filled with suspicions. If this kid was an old monster, did he perhaps use cultivation to keep such appearances? That may also explain why his cultivation went so slow. But who was dumb enough to keep himself as young as a child? They'd usually stop around 16. This way they could partake in some of the more pleasant aspects of life. This seemed to have made Zhua Fan recall a veil-covered face and the demure figure. But Zhua Fan shook his head at that thought. He was aiming to become an overlord on the demonic path. How could he ever let himself get bogged down by kinship? Perhaps the kid's thinking the same thing. So far, Zhua Fan could understand him. Continue. He is really queer. He doesn't like anything, except eating ingredients. If it was anyone else, he'd be already blown to bits by the potent ingredients. But he is unscathed. Steward Zhua, I'm sure you can imagine by now, which house's ingredients are the most appealing when this freak ever ran out of them. Imperial family and the 7 houses? Zhua Fan's eyes widened and suddenly showed a sly grin. Could it be? Hi, Steward Zhua sure is evil, thinking about plunging the world into chaos. though it is the truth nonetheless. The kid went to Pill King Hall's fields and picked them clean of any and all herbs ranging from 2nd to 7th grade. He even gobbled those 8th grade ones that took 1,000 years to grow. How could Pill King Hall sit still after that? So their elders chased after him. The kid didn't use any martial art, but his fists are insanely powerful. In just a single move, the elders were wiped out completely. I am sure this old geezer here knows the taste of that fist the best, hee hee hee. Violent Demon mocked Li Jingtian. Li Jingtian nodded, breaking out in sweat just thinking about it. In their clash, Gu Santong didn't even punch, only threw him like nothing and already gave him a deep wound. If it were a punch instead, his life would have been forfeited. Such outstanding power. Taking a deep breath, Li Jingtian shuddered from the memory and fear crawled into his heart. This never happened in all his long years as Mad Dipper. Zhuo Fan understood his state of mind and paled as well. He patted Elder Li's shoulder in comfort and spoke with seriousness, and then, Hi. Then Pill King Hall requested assistance from Regent Estate and they sent their elders on the kid's trail, only to suffer the same fate. All the while Gu Santong was rampant in robbing ingredients everywhere he went, even attacking the warehouses of the 7 houses and leaving them with nothing. Without a choice, the always squabbling 7 houses put aside their differences and worked together for the first time. They issued the worst and most cruel order since the Empire's existence, the Demon Purging Decree. Say what? Zhuo Fan's eyes widened in shock. He recalled how everyone spoke of this Demon Purging Decree as the most gruesome thing in existence. And the first use was on Gu Santong. But how was that kid still alive now? Just what kind of power does he have? How could he fight against an entire nation and only as a damn profound heaven expert? Chapter 231, The Third Divine Dragon. Chapter 231, The Third Divine Dragon. Once the Demon Purging Decree was issued, every place Gu Santong had been was burned to the ground. It reached a point where every man, woman, and child shouted at him to die out of fear. He was treated like a public enemy. It didn't matter where he went, because the entire empire was against him. Isolated and despised, this mere child began to feel glum. Rumor has it that when the 7 houses venerables chased, the kid had no heart to fight and fled. The Demon Purging Decree showed results in the end, at least it cut the little monster's fighting spirit. Zhuo Fan nodded. He was clear on that feeling, as demonic cultivators had often stumbled upon such a situation. Because they killed some righteous people for some reason, the others disregarded the truth and demanded their deaths. All because they were labeled demonic. In such a helpless and isolated state, anyone would feel miserable. For this exact reason, his firm belief was that a demonic cultivator had to stand on his own, to cultivate a certain state of mind. Even if alone, one needed to have the courage to face the whole world. As such, he, the demonic emperor, didn't establish a sect or a cult after his rise, becoming the loneliest of the 8 emperors. This was also the nature of demonic cultivators, though when problems arose there would have been no one to rely on. Gu Santong may be invincible, but he was still very much like a child. The isolation and hatred had an even greater effect, leaving him with a trauma. Sigh, the Demon Purging Decree is psychological warfare. Zhuo Fan sighed and said to Violent Demon, then how did he remove his heart demon to become the current invincible scamp? Hi, Steward Zhuo sure is smart. You caught on right away he didn't have that title before. Violent Demon laughed. Zhuo Fan grinned, becoming isolated bores heavy on one's mind. In this state, even if powerful, it was still far from becoming invincible. Precisely. When the 7 houses venerables went after the kid, he was slowly reaching the end of his rope, on the brink of annihilation. But something happened then, and the kid changed completely. After only 3 months, when people thought he was on his deathbed and were searching for his corpse, he emerged. But if before he still had an innocent and childish manner, this time, he was devil incarnate. His actions struck fear in not only the 7 houses, but the imperial family as well. His style was very much like ours from the demonic path. Hi. Oh, what did he do? Zhuo grew excited and Li Jingtian eager. Breaking out in laughter again, the light and violent demon's eyes danced, "Do unto others as others have done unto you." Once he appeared again, he threatened to destroy the entire empire. "Didn't you declare demon purging decree on me, burning any place I have been to isolate me? Fine then, I won't wait for you to destroy the cities, I'm just going to do it myself and save you the trouble. Every place I visit will be wiped out. When I leave this Tianyu, the empire will be an empty one." Hi, Steward Zhuo, old Li, could you even fathom the kid's baffling power? Every single punch and kick of his razed cities to the ground. This not only had the 7 houses scared, but the entire Tianyu was shaking in their boots. They had to be crying inside at the time, thinking, what did it have to do with them? We're innocent. Ha, a bunch of morons if you ask me, the lot of them. The other 3 demons were also excited, wishing they had been there to stir trouble. Sly Demon even spoke over Violent Demon. Violent Demon glared then kicked him, "Damn you, Sly Demon, this is the best part. I'm telling the story." Sly Demon smirked and snorted inside but made no comment. Zhuo and Li Jingtian were speechless. Li Jingtian asked, "I once heard of the kid's notoriety, but never knew he was so vicious. He wanted to destroy an empire, by himself?" But Zhuo shook his head, clapping in admiration, "His guts are commendable. I would have done the same thing in his stead." Humph, as for those who called themselves innocent, at the moment of the demon purging decree, there was no one who stood up to the 7 houses' slaughter. In fact, they even pitched in. They were anything but innocent. And since they became enemies, mercy and regrets have no place here. Zhuo snickered and nodded, "The little imp is starting to grow on me." Li Jingtian looked long at Zhuo and found his impression was not unlike his own. In this cruel world, it was kill or be killed. Even innocent killings were the order of the day. And in the case of enemies, there was even less remorse. Steward Zhuo is truly a man who will make countless sacrifices. Li Jingtian sighed inside. And then? Zhuo and Li Jingtian asked in unison. Glaring at his 3 brothers to curb their interruption, Violent Demon continued, He. What followed next was a prime example of how a true demonic cultivator should act. In but half a year, the kid fulfilled his promise, wiping out every place he went to until his onslaught had covered half the empire. Any and all who heard his coming, sent the people fleeing for their lives. The 7 houses venerable joined hands to surround him, to no avail. The kid still went on killing regardless of opposition. He then started to be referred as the all-ravaging child. To show that everywhere he went, he left ravaged lands behind him. The imperial family could no longer take it, seeing the 7 houses in disarray. If it didn't intervene now, the empire would be done for. So it sent its 50 divine dragons. Violent Demon started sputtering as he spoke from the excitement. As if he was the one laying Tianyu to ruin instead. Zhuo waved him off, "Hold on, how many divine dragons was that again?" Violent Demon raised 5 fingers, 50, why? SSS. Gasping, Zhuo was shocked, there were 50 divine dragons then? You mean to say 50 Jade Flute Divine Sword Feng Qiubai at peak radiant stage? He, Steward Zhuo, you've got it all wrong. The aptitudes of divine dragons at the time weren't as high as the current ones. How could there be 50 Jade Flute Divine Sword? Zhuo nodded and sighed. 50 Jade Flute Divine Sword was a dreaded sight. More to the point, it would be even more damn frightening if the kid escaped from them as well. Before he even had the chance to calm his thoughts, Violent Demon continued, the Imperial family was still going strong at the time, having around 20 experts like Jade Flute Divine Sword. And the other 30 were at least in the 5th layer of Radiant stage. 3 among them were even called immemorial sages by the world, stronger than even Jade Flute Divine Sword. Even Invincible Scamp had a hard time dealing with them. What? Zhuo cried and looked at Li Jingtian. They too were incredulous the Imperial family ever held so much power. Easily guessing their thoughts, the 4 scheming demons started their creepy jeer, Hi, how ignorant you are. You think Tianyu's imperial family and the 7 houses of now only have this little power after 1,000 years? Just 3 centuries ago, the imperial family had 50 divine dragons, the regent estate 100 radiant stage experts and the other houses in the tens. This is what kept the houses in a delicate balance. But in the war with Gu Santong, the 7 houses' united force of hundreds of radiant stage experts were almost wiped out. Even the imperial family's 50 divine dragons were destroyed, leaving but only the 3 immemorial sages alive. This battle waged for a whole year in a devastating fashion. 2 of the sages ultimately succumbed in this war of attrition, leaving behind the strongest immemorial sage to contend with the little monster. But at this time, both of them were nearing their limits, with the end looking to be drawn in mutual destruction. Zhua Fan and Li Jingtian were wide-eyed. Thank God invincible scamp wrecked Tianyu 300 years ago, or the Luo clan would have never got to rise above the 7 houses, not even in 100 years, not to mention 10. Zhua Fan wiped his brow, cheering inside. By the way, how did their fight end? With the kid still alive, did the last sage die? If that is so, why then the kid hid himself for the past centuries? Nodding, Violent Demon smiled, precisely. The last sage was very smart. He knew if both died, the imperial family would be left stranded, and the 7 houses ultimately dividing Tianyu. So at the very end, he read the kid's nature and resorted to shamelessly dupe him into a 1,000-year agreement. He stated that if he stood his ground after receiving the kid's 10 punches, the kid would replace him in becoming the imperial family's divine dragon and safeguarding the imperial family for 1,000 years. If he died, then Gu Santong could do with Tianyu as he pleased, with no one stopping him. Hi, Steward Zhua, don't you think this is the most ridiculous joke you've ever heard? If the sage died, with all other divine dragons laying dead as well, who on earth remained to stop the little monster? This was the most obvious trap if I ever saw one, but the kid was duped just as easily, or perhaps overconfident in his strength. Once the 10 punches were struck, the sage was peach perfect and invincible scamp had the rotten luck of being in the imperial family's indentured servant ever since. Hi, what a moron. If it were me, I'd disregard the bet even after the punches, ha. I am tens of times wiser than that brat, a genius I tell ya. The other demons egged him on with thumbs up, and Violent Demon's laughter only grew more rampant. But Zhua Fan and Li Jingtian were shocked speechless. Never in their wildest dreams had they conceived that Gu Santong was the imperial family's 3rd divine dragon. Chapter 232, A Stubborn Heart. Chapter 232, A Stubborn Heart. The 5 divine dragons of the imperial family, the strongest in Tianyu. And yet, the highly placed members of the 7 houses had limited knowledge about them, limited to Jade Flute Divine Sword Feng Qiubai and Monochrome Chess Sage Sima Hui. The House Lords were the only ones entitled to the matters pertaining 3 centuries ago, that the invincible scamp Gu, the devil who pushed Tianyu on the brink of collapse, was now a divine dragon. But this resolution only brought more problems than solved. Zhua Fan squinted at the 4 demons. Since the imperial family is rearing this behemoth, what is it doing getting scared of the 7 houses? He, Steward Zhua, you clearly know nothing. That last immemorial sage was the strongest in Tianyu, on the brink of breaking out of the radiant stage's shackles and reaching the void consciousness and becoming undying. A pity he met Gu Santong, that little monster. Regardless of how strong he was, he couldn't stand the kid's 10 punches. But even so, thanks to his consciousness on the brink of becoming void, he endured the kid's onslaught for a full hour before having his soul scattered. Gu Santong admired his dedication, who was willing to stake his soul in winning the bet. This was how the man protected Tianyu's imperial family and forced the kid to stick to his promise. But Gu Santong was no fool either. He resigned to only protecting the imperial family and nothing more. Thus, he was the imperial family's strongest shield, but not their spear, ignoring any orders. Even so, the imperial family still won. Would anyone dare disobey them, when they had him on their side? Of course, his existence was never accepted by the 7 houses. If he went berserk again, what would become of the 7 houses? So, they went to the emperor again and again for a resolution, or they would be leaving the empire. For lack of a better choice, the imperial family could only ask for the kid to make a vow as a divine dragon to not attack the 7 houses unless provoked. Also, the imperial family will have him under strict supervision. He is not to step 1 foot outside the imperial capital without the emperor's explicit approval. With how Tianyu lost its backbone in that war, if the 7 houses withdrew, the empire was open to foreign invasions. And the kid had no choice but to agree to this and protect the imperial family through the oath. The 7 houses begrudgingly compromised as well, and the imperial family changed his title into Invincible Scamp. As if to mean all that happened was just a kid throwing a tantrum. But now, the Invincible Scamp who's been locked away for 3 centuries by the imperial family was set free by the emperor. Violent Demon and the 3 demons wore their brows in a frown. Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian nodded and sighed. Gu Santong was indeed savage, but also honorable, far more than these little shits. Zhuo Fan squinted at the 4, and snickered, is that all? Pretty much. Now then, Steward Zhuo, you have the boundless honor of listening to the legends of the much greater, much more heroic 4 demons than even the likes of Invincible Scamp Gu Santong. Correct, those 4 are without a doubt yours truly, the demonic heroes, for scheming. Not interested. With a sneer and a sign, the 4 demons started wailing in torment as they tousled the ground. Among the screams of pain they voiced their doubts. Steward Zhuo, what did we do this time? Is this how you repay us? Nothing bad, in fact you did exemplary work. I'm only dishing out premeditated punishment. Zhuo Fan snickered and cackled. The 4's hearts were in grief as they shouted, Steward Zhuo, you're breaking your promise. You said you'll forget about everything if we told you about Gu Santong. TCH, Zhuo Fan mocked, we're all demon cultivators here, right? Since when can you believe anything we say? You're morons to have trusted me in the first place. Li Jingtian almost burst out laughing. It was the 4 little shits who duped Zhuo Fan in the first place, and now he was paying them back in spades. Steward Zhuo isn't one to take a loss, regardless how small. The 4 scheming demons were on the verge of tears. Zhuo Fan returned their mocking words right back at them, leaving them speechless. Being tricked made them feel anger, sorrow, pain, the works. My head hurts, my face hurts, my whole body hurts. They could only resort to begging now. But Zhuo Fan turned a deaf ear to their pleading, speaking to Li Jingtian with a smile, elderly, do you know what I'm thinking? He, Steward Zhuo wants Gu Santong. Li Jingtian's eyes lit up. Nodding, Zhuo Fan's eyes shined with exceptional greed, I've never wanted a subordinate as much as I want him. But if the imperial family finds out you've stolen their cornerstone from under their feet, Li Jingtian was worried. Grinning, Zhuo Fan mocked, with Gu Santong in the bag, what good will it do to them if they know? They couldn't handle his power 3 centuries ago, but can they now? Li Jingtian laughed. Zhuo Fan launched into the air, flying for Gu Santong's mountain. Elderly, look after them. I'm going to probe the devil. I am going to confirm some suspicions of mine. Steward Zhuo, don't worry. Leave this to me, ha ha ha. Cupping his hands, Li Jingtian turned to 4, their wailing music to his ears. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan landed on the peak. He saw Gu Santong sitting on the edge of a cliff with his dainty feet dangling and enjoying the sunset. Seeing him approach, the kid's eyes lit up, oh, you're back so fast. Did you already get an ingredient? Ha ha ha, yep. Zhuo Fan nodded. Gu Santong was caught by surprise and cheered as he jumped to Zhuo Fan, how are you so fast? Take it out and let me see. Zhuo Fan's hand shined and revealed a purple leaf. Another 5th grade ingredient. Gu Santong was overjoyed, eager to dig in since the smell was intoxicating. Without preamble, he bit into it as he praised Zhuo Fan, you're not bad at all. Far better than the others. Those 4 couldn't get one in 3 days, but you found one in an instant. Ha ha ha, you did well. I won't forget it. Oh, and how will you repay me? Zhuo Fan smiled. Gu Santong hesitated, his eyes darting all over before holding out 2 fingers in all seriousness. I'll give you 2 more attempts. You just have to defeat me once and I'll let you all go. With the old guy using 1, you are left with 11. Ha ha ha, so this is your reward. Zhuo Fan chuckled and shook his head as he cursed the brat in his head. This punk was corrupted by the strongest immemorial sage, alright, giving fake rewards. Blast it, if I could beat you, what need do I have of you to let me go? We'd be leaving anyway. But since we can't, more attempts only means getting beaten by you even more. Are you taking us for fools? You'll get yours, oh don't you worry. In a jiffy, I will put your cheeky ass in place. I'll show you how it's really done. Zhuo Fan snickered, then I'll be going to get more and more attempts. Go, go. Work hard now. Gu Santong waved him off, as if Zhuo Fan was nothing to him but a precious ingredient dispenser. Zhuo Fan left with a smile and returned 15 minutes later to Li Jingtian. The 4 scheming demons rushed to beg for mercy, but Zhuo Fan didn't even spare them a glance. Elderly, the kid's only redeeming feature is his brawn. Easy to handle. Ah, what do you mean? Li Jingtian's asked eager. Zhuo Fan showed 2 items. One was the bloodworm gourd, the other, a glowing ingredient more precious than a mere 5th grade. Zhuo Fan took a bloodworm from the gourd and placed it on the ingredient. The worm then disappeared deep inside it. Li Jingtian still didn't understand, but Zhuo Fan explained, in your fight with the kid, I noticed how he never used discerning field despite being in the radiant stage. So I tested him again with a 5th grade ingredient. Seeing him gobble it up like candy, we'll give him this bloodworm spiked ingredient and then. The 2 shared a look and sank into a choreographed evil snicker. In the middle of the 4's cries, Wimp Demon was about to say something, but Violent Demon's glare cut him short. The other 2 demons along with Violent Demon snickered. But their mockery of the pair didn't sound much different from their wails, making it fall under Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian's radar. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan went to Gu Santong again. Gu Santong was suspicious now. How are you so fast? Did you get another one? Yep. Zhuo Fan nodded. Gu Santong was overjoyed. You're the very definition of an expert, not like those 4 snails. Give it here and I'll give you 10 attempts. Ha ha, much obliged. Smirking, Zhuo Fan presented the ingredient and Gu Santong cried in joy, it's a 6th grade ingredient. You're incredible. Zhuo Fan only smiled, but he mocked him inside. To make you take the bait and drop your guard, I'm even giving you a 6th grade ingredient. Curses, I didn't even get that many off of Drifting Flower's edifice. But it's fine. Using it in exchange for such a powerful expert is bloody worth it. His eyes shining, Zhuo Fan licked his lips, staring closely at Gu Santong. As long as the brat ate it, then he would have the strongest Intianyu at his fingertips. Even Zhuo Fan couldn't control his excitement as his heart hammered in his chest. But Gu Santong didn't eat it and frowned. There's something off about this ingredient. Bam! Zhuo Fan's heart hit rock bottom, watching on nervously. Did the brat find out? Chapter 233, Complete Loss. Chapter 233, Complete Loss. How can a genuine 6th grade ingredient have problems? Zhuo Fan scratched his nose as worry crept in his heart. Scrunching his nose, Gu Santong frowned and split the ingredient in 2 with his fingers. A red worm was seen wiggling further into the ingredient, but Gu Santong picked it up. What is this? Gu Santong set his eyes on Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan was shocked inside, but didn't show it. If the kid found out, he'd be pulverized with a flick alone. Zhuo Fan knew he couldn't admit it even in death. He had to play innocent. Strange, how did a worm get inside an ingredient? Yeah, ingredients are worldly treasure, so how could this grand 6th grade ingredient caught a worm? Gu Santong stared Zhuo Fan down. But could only shake his head in the end, having not detected any abnormalities. He killed the bug and ate the ingredient. Whatever, anything is possible in this world. But be more careful next time you go pick ingredients. Zhuo Fan nodded, and hightail it out of there with a soaked back. How did this kid, without a discerning field, find out about the bloodworm? Luckily the kid didn't doubt him or he'd be a goner. Recalling Li Jingtian's heavy wounds after a mere throw, Zhuo Fan swallowed dryly as he flew away. Yet Gu Santong still sat there on the cliff, chewing ingredients with a frown. How is it that an ingredient caught a worm? Whoosh! Zhuo Fan returned like lighting to Li Jingtian. The latter was eager to know the result. Steward Zhuo, how was it? Can't you tell from my face? Zhuo Fan spoke glumly. Li Jingtian knew Zhuo Fan was depressed. You mean the kid used the discerning field for the first time? As if. Zhuo Fan shook his head and sighed, his brow in a constant frown, and this is what worries me. Without using his soul to investigate, how the hell did he find the hidden worm? If I can't understand this, any future attempts will be pointless. Li Jingtian sank in thought as well. The four demons suddenly stopped yelling as they tried muffling their laughter. But the pain got too much and soon resumed their tenor symphony. Zhuo Fan couldn't care less, however. Steward Zhuo, should we try with eggs? Li Jingtian proposed. We may not know what trick he used, but not even discerning field can find the eggs. I refuse to believe he is any different. Zhuo Fan slapped his thigh. We'll do it like you said, elderly. But this time it will cost me heavily. Gnashing his teeth, Zhuo Fan's hand revealed a 3-foot-long red and white root. Li Jingtian shouted in shock, 7th grade ingredient, Yin-Yang Moon Fire Root. Correct. This ingredient is hot on the outside but cold inside. This is one of the few ingredients with yin and yang in harmony. Because of its rarity, it is even valued higher than an 8th grade ingredient. Stammering, Zhuo Fan caressed the red-hot root yet ice-cold whiskers with a bleeding heart. I got it when I was in Drifting Flowers edifice and couldn't bear the thought of using it in the competition. Yet, I am now using it to house some worm eggs. When the kid takes it, it's the same as eating a spring pill, quickening the growth of the worm. Seeing him so reluctant, Li Jingtian patted his shoulder. Steward Zhuo, you know what they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Think about it, a 7th grade ingredient in exchange for the invincible scamp, no matter how you see it, it's totally worth it. I'm sure you can see it with your cunning mind. Zhuo Fan's gaze hardened and nodded. Yes, this is not just a mere exchange but a great deal. Zhuo Fan let a bloodworm into the ingredient, then soon after put it back in the gourd. Now the ingredient was filled with bloodworm eggs. Taking a deep breath, he looked at the ingredient with hope and smiled. Everything rests on you now. Good luck, Steward Zhuo. Li Jingtian cupped his hands. Zhuo Fan nodded and flew to Gu Santong. He was there in a flash. Startled, Gu Santong turned to Zhuo Fan. You're damn quick, you know that. Those 4 fools have nothing on you. What did you find this time? Take it out. But he couldn't finish as the sight of the ingredient in Zhuo Fan's hands had him wide-eyed. 7th grade ingredient. You actually found a 7th grade ingredient? Just lucky, I guess. Zhuo Fan nodded. Gu Santong took it and drooled. He was moved to tears. A 7th grade ingredient, oh, I haven't had one in 3 centuries. Those bastards in yellow only know how to starve me with wretched 1st and 2nd grade ingredients. It took me 300 years to reach the 2nd layer of radiant stage. Gu Santong lamented his grief, while Zhuo Fan nodded inwardly. Now he knew who he was talking about. They were the Imperial Capital's guards. He found another big secret as well. His cultivation didn't rely on training, or maybe training did very little. Only eating ingredients increased his strength. Curses, if I take him in, I'll go broke before I get to raise him. On second thought, I might not need to feed him anyway since he is already invincible. Yeah, no problem. Then, it suddenly occurred to him. The Imperial family definitely has high-grade ingredients. Yet, over the last centuries they've only been feeding him 1st and 2nd grade. Was it done on purpose to hold this monster's growth in check? So the more power he has, the harder it is for the Imperial family to control him. Squinting, Zhuo Fan realized Gu Santong was unlike the rumors painted him as the strongest in the empire. At least the imperial family seemed to have a way to keep him in check. Otherwise, there was no reason to stunt his cultivation for so many years. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath. As of yet, he was unsure if this conjecture was real or not, but he couldn't ignore it either, or he'd be suffering at the hands of the imperial family sometime in the future. The imperial family still had uses for them and they were relying on the imperial family, but who was to say when all of this could just go belly up? In short, there are no everlasting friends. Anyone can become an enemy. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed coldly. Ah! Gu Santong suddenly frowned and cried out. He looked at the ingredient and shook his head. This one is also fishy. Why are all the ingredients you find so queer? His heart drumming in his chest, Zhuo Fan swallowed dryly. Ha ha ha, what could possibly be wrong? Gu Santong snapped the ingredient in two and pointed. See that? Zhuo Fan saw the core of the ingredient in shock. Gu Santong broke it right where the bloodworm laid its eggs. The middle of this 7th grade ingredient was white as the moon and released a deep chill. But in this whiteness, there were some grayish dots, bloodworm's eggs. The average man would definitely miss them even with scrutiny. Not even a radiant stage expert searching it with his soul could find them. Li Jingtian bore testament to that. Yet this little monster actually did it. Not only found them, but even accurately struck their exact spot. Even Zhuo Fan had to admire his prowess. This ain't the time to gawk. Wiping his brow, Zhuo Fan squinted and faked. What are you saying? I can't see anything. Gu Santong pointed his childlike finger. See these dots, they don't match the ingredient. They are in fact closely resembling the worm in the last ingredient. They must be its eggs. Zhuo Fan's heart sank and his legs almost gave. He looks like a clueless brat, but his eyesight is spot on. He can even see similarities between the eggs and the bloodworm. Zhuo Fan was gripped with fear. If the kid blames me for the worm and the eggs, a single hit from him will reduce me to pulp. But that didn't happen as Gu Santong waved the eggs off the ingredient and started chewing it. He chewed as he smiled. I can't blame you for this, just like the ingredient with the worm in it. How can I throw away a 7th grade ingredient? I don't mind taking it, ha ha ha. Gu Santong laughed brightly, and Zhuo Fan felt his heart bleed. Ah! Not only I lost a fortune, but I couldn't get the kid either. I lost everything. But as he was mourning the loss, Gu Santong's words drifted over. Hey, you're really good at finding ingredients. So why don't I shorten the time? One ingredient every 2 hours, a 7th grade one. Stumbling, Zhuo Fan was close to spurting blood. He had no one to blame but himself. Giving the kid so many ingredients ended up with him admitting defeat. And instead of getting him wrapped around Zhou Fan's fingers, the kid asked a 7th grade ingredient per 2 hours. He's killing me. Not even he had so many on hand. Chapter 234, Godlike Nose. Chapter 234, Godlike Nose. In a place filled with rubble, Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian sat glumly on a big stone. Four were howling in the background, completing the picture with the odd twist and turn as pain stabbed through them. Zhuo Fan sighed at the sky and stood. I need to go give the imp another ingredient. If this keeps up, I'll lose everything. Steward Zhuo, can't we just flee? Why must we suffer at his hands? Li Jingtian frowned. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Flee? I am not giving up. I already lost 6 7th grade ingredients, but still can't find that brat's weakness. If I leave now, all of that will go to waste. Humph, I've never once suffered so much in a deal. Li Jingtian understood him. Now was time to go all out against this invincible scamp Gu Santong. Zhuo Fan refused to believe he couldn't subdue him, not after wasting so many ingredients on the prick. So Li Jingtian only shook his head, unable to figure out what Gu Santong's trick is to leave even the cunning Zhuo Fan out of options. But just then, creepy laughter resounded. Zhuo Fan looked back in reflex to see the four demons wrecked with pain yet slipping a sneer among the tortured faces. It was an odd sound for sure, the combination of groans and jeers coming out of those twisted faces didn't seem natural. You couldn't tell if it was crying or laughing. But their eyes spoke enough for Zhuo Fan to pick on their naked mockery. What are you laughing at? Zhuo Fan snapped, you know, don't you? The creepy laughter grounded to a halt, and the four turned around and wailed in pain once again. Zhuo Fan tightened his fists. This was silent protest. Zhuo Fan could bet his ingredients that the four knew something. Speak, and your mistakes shall be crossed out. Or I can promise you will go through such pain you can't even begin to imagine. Zhuo Fan squinted and spoke with bloodthirst. Wimp Demon shuddered, but Violent Demon's glare stopped him from saying anything. Damn fourth bro, did you forget how he played us? If you say one word, I will, ah. Violent Demon couldn't finish as Zhuo Fan's hand sign ramped up the pain. He could only flop around from agony. The other demons were startled and Wimp Demon was downright shaking. Steward Zhuo, Gu Santong's nose is very sharp. It doesn't matter what you do to the ingredient, he'll always find out. Nose? His eyes widening, Zhuo Fan turned to Li Jingtian. Then his sign changed and Wimp Demon's pain up and vanished. Wimp Demon moved around in joy. Zhuo Fan spoke, Wimp Demon, tell me all you know. Wimp Demon held Zhuo Fan in fear and nodded. Gu Santong isn't only outrageously powerful, his nose is more so, godlike even. The last time we gave him an ingredient, we laced it with poison, but he sniffed it out instantly and beat us to a pulp. Then we thought of fleeing, but he could easily sniff us out in 1,000 miles, giving us another beating. Then, there is no then. We searched seriously knowing we can't escape his evil clutches and looked for ingredients for him. Zhuo Fan's eyes twitched, but he believed him. He was amazing enough to sniff out the poison out of an ingredient. But to track them down in 1,000-mile radius, that was godlike. Even Radiant Stage's discerning field paled in comparison. Now the pair knew why Gu Santong let them go about searching for ingredients without minding them. No matter where they went, he'd find them. He can smell the bloodworm and its eggs? Is that it? Zhuo Fan was incredulous, such an insanely sharp nose. Is he perhaps looking down on discerning field? Li Jingtian's face was grave as well. Steward Zhuo, does that mean escaping is impossible? I urge you not to flee, or you'll only suffer instead. Wimp Demon warned. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and nodded. Gu Santong was even more amazing than he thought. Now not only striking back at him was impossible, even fleeing was out. Zhuo Fan was glum. But he showed a smile to Wimp Demon, patting him. Wimp Demon, you're a nice guy. Far better than those idiots. You've been tousled by the bloodworm enough, go take a rest. What? Wimp Demon hooped in joy while the other three demons cried in dissent, no way. Didn't you say demonic cultivators don't stick to their word? Grinning, Zhuo Fan mocked, it's no promise, but a reward. Then he ignored the three. The only thing on their mind was regret. How could I be so stupid to miss this chance? Wimp Demon puffed his chest, strutting among the three demons crying out in agony. The three demons glared at him with envy and hatred. Li Jingtian was speechless, and held Zhuo Fan's methods in even more admiration. These four little shits were immune to soft and hard methods, even their thinking was screwed up. The only way to get them in line was with the carrot and the stick. Li Jingtian sighed, Steward Zhuo, these four little shits had dragged us into a swamp that's hard to get out of. But I don't think it's such a miserable encounter. At least we now know Gu Santong's ace. Zhuo Fan grinned, his eyes flashing as he watched the peak Gu Santong stayed on. In this world, what we fear the most is the unknown. Now that we know what his trick is, we just gotta think hard of how to counter it. No one is invincible, even monsters. Li Jingtian's heart shuddered and looked at Zhuo Fan with hope. That's how a true man of ambition is. He can remain calm even in the face of Tianyu's strongest. A pity such a talent is not a clan head. Rumble. With a sudden loud noise, the sky dimmed. Zhuo Fan sighed, it's about to rain. I'll hand the ingredient over to the kid, then think of a way to deal with his skill. I must have him under me. If Steward Zhuo said it, then it's as good as done. Li Jingtian caressed his beard. He now had blind faith in Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan shook his head and set off. From the peak came Gu Santong's angry voice, damn heaven, what lightning! Tone down the noise. Zhuo Fan was startled, then frowned in thought. He heard a howl as a visible sound wave came from the peak and shot at the sky. In a blink, the thunderclouds scattered and the sky brightened. There was no cloud seen for thousands of miles. Li Jingtian was shocked, Gu Santong is amazing. With a mere shout, he unleashed an even stronger ripple than I do with Necro Dragon's screech. Zhuo Fan scowled, his eyes spacing out in thought. The kid had always been calm around us, not showing even a bit of anger. He, guess we weren't worthy to make him angry. Li Jingtian grinned. But, why was he raging at the thunderclouds? Li Jingtian shook his head, maybe he hates lightning? Or is it fear? Zhuo Fan squinted. Li Jingtian shuddered, Steward Zhuo, you mean? Perhaps his weakness is lightning. Zhuo Fan made a hand sign and the demons' torture stopped, letting them catch their breath. Zhuo Fan said, get ready, we're going to Thunder Swarm Mountain. But we're still in the kid's palm. Whatever for are we going to that damnable place? Violent Demon shouted. Zhuo Fan glared and his finger moved, my word is law, so cut the crap. Or else. Fine, we'll listen to Steward Zhuo. We won't complain again. Violent Demon lifted his hands in defeat. Zhuo Fan nodded. He flew to Gu Santong and was soon back again, let's go. What if Gu Santong comes after us? Violent Demon hesitated. I told the kid we'll be going a bit further for his ingredients and that there's an 8th grade ingredient there but we'll be needing 3 days. He instantly agreed. By the time he figures out he'd been had, our trap will be ready. Zhuo Fan snickered evilly. For scheming demons asked in unison, trap. We will lure Tianyu's strongest, invincible scamp Gu Santong into a trap. Zhuo Fan grinned, his eyes burning with resolve. Chapter 235, The Thunder Array Trap. Chapter 235, The Thunder Array Trap. Rumble. On top of a tall mountain, from south to north, from west to east, 4 cliffs stood. These cliffs were eternally shrouded by dark clouds with rumbling thunders striking them at any given moment. But the way these bucket-sized lightning bolts slammed into the 4 cliffs was akin to lightning dragons. They struck them and then returned back to the clouds to begin the cycle anew. From afar, it looked like a nest of lightning dragons roaming around the cliffs. Is this Thunder Swarm Mountain? Zhuo Fan asked as he watched the spectacle. The 4 scheming demons nodded with a pained face, having vividly recalled the torment they had to endure inside. Violent Demon found it difficult to even speak. We've been stuck in there for 60-odd years, having lightning pass through us every second of every day. If it weren't for that dumbass leaving a hole behind, we might still be in there. Those were the worst years ever, wah. Violent Demon cried as he pointed at the cliffs. The other demons were also tearing up. Li Jingtian's face twitched. He used to feel sad and bitter as well, but when the 4 described it, he felt disgusted instead. Didn't someone just save you? Why aren't you seeing him in a good light? Do such people even exist, that would even call their rescuer a dumbass? Zhuo Fan stood unflinching in the face of those crocodile tears. His eyes ever shined as he gazed at the cliffs. He isn't a dumbass at all. In fact, he didn't poke a hole in the barrier out of carelessness. He let them go on purpose. Li Jingtian cried. Zhuo Fan nodded. This barrier may be fitting this place, raised on top of this natural array, but it is very intricately and painstakingly placed to leave almost no loopholes. That cliff, for example, is one such hole. Only an erudite could see it. What, on purpose? Then how come we didn't see anyone when we got out? The 4 stopped crying on the spot and looked at each other baffled. They looked inwardly for an answer, but there didn't seem to be anyone on friendly terms with them besides those in the sect. Who could be so kind as to let them out? Scratching his nose, Zhuo Fan smiled. He must have done it for his own reasons. But he never would have imagined he helped me instead. Ha ha ha. Don't dwell on it. What's crucial is that we set up an array and bait Gu Santong inside. This 6th grade array is slightly damaged. Once I fix it, its power will double. Zhuo Fan pointed at the cliff. Li Jingtian nodded and frowned. Steward Zhuo, are you sure the kid will enter? What if he sees the array and waits for us outside instead? We won't be able to hold on then. No worries. Others will hesitate while he will jump straight in. Because he is the invincible scamp, undefeated throughout his life. He never suffered defeat, which makes him cocky. And cockiness leads to neglect. I believe there's not a best radiant stage sucker out there as this Gu Santong. Zhuo Fan cackled with confidence. Li Jingtian gave a thumbs up. Steward Zhuo sees through everyone. My admiration for you knows no bounds. Enough sucking up to me. I am certain he'll go in, but I can't gauge his power, making success uncertain. But with this natural 6th grade array and with us controlling it, success will be ours. Otherwise, Zhuo Fan frowned and sighed. For scheming demons jumped over and shouted, what do you need us to do? Your job is to go in the array and distract Gu Santong. No way. We have had enough of this array. Even in the demon scheming sect, everyone was against us controlling arrays. That's blatant discrimination. The 4 demons demanded fairness. Zhuo Fan's face darkened. You damn idiots. Of course no one will let you. They were afraid you'd go messing it all up and you'll go farther than mere discrimination against them. His face was solemn. I'm also discriminating against you. But don't you dare friggin' meddle with the array as I work on it. And you'd better listen to every one of my orders when Gu Santong gets inside and give your all while doing it. Or else. Zhuo Fan's finger moved, sending the 4 demons shivering into bobbing their heads. Then, they instantly switched to an aggrieved expression and kicked the stones at their feet in dissent. Why is everyone hell-bent against us? We are 4 demonic heroes, what's not to like? Li Jingtian laughed wryly at the 4's lonely figures. Zhuo Fan didn't know if he should laugh or cry at these buffoons' antics. 3 days came and went, soon revealing Gu Santong landing at the foot of Thunder Swarm Mountain. But the mountain was different than before, its black clouds gone. It was a particularly sunny afternoon, with birds singing on this barren Thunder Swarm Mountain. Only the occasional flickers on the rocks bore testament this place was once flooded with lightning. But Gu Santong saw none of that. He only sniffed and shouted, you bastards have taken advantage of my trust and good nature. Get the hell out right now. I don't have much time to waste here. If you don't go out to get me ingredients, I'll be bitter all my life. Who knows when I will get to eat so many good ingredients? Listen up. I know you're on that mountain. Get out right now. I am pressed for time, so I will forego your transgression. Don't make me come after you, or you'll be sorry. Gu Santong's childish voice reverberated for miles. But no reply came from the mountain. Gu Santong was pissed. Fine, have it your way. It's on you. See how I'll put you in your place once I get my hands on you. With a loud sound, Gu Santong charged straight into Thunder Swarm Mountain Center. But just as he arrived in between the 4 cliffs and wiggled his nose in search of their location, a fierce gale blew. Black clouds started rolling in swiftly, submerging the cliffs in darkness. Then, peals of lightning flashed within the dark clouds, surrounding Gu Santong in the middle. Gu Santong's eyes widened and cried, an array. Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian hid in the tallest and shortest cliff's caves, controlling the array. They snorted at Gu Santong's shock again and again. He, invincible scamp, your day has come. Rumble. A thunderous sound came from above and a lightning dragon spiraled around the 4 cliffs, setting up the barrier to seal in even a radiant stage expert. Gu Santong shuddered and frowned. He covered his ears and cursed, you bastards, Is it not enough you set up an array, but did it have to be a thunder one? Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian cracked up. Ha ha ha, only thunder can keep you little freak in check, who is scared of it? Elderly, this is just the start. But be careful, the lightning may have a heavy impact on him, but I don't want to kill him. I want him alive. Zhuo Fan transmitted words to Li Jingtian. Li Jingtian nodded and laughed. I got it, Steward Zhuo. We can't have those ingredients go to waste. I know what to do. The two changed hand signs as they laughed. Rumble. With another loud sound, hundreds of lightning fell from the sky straight for Gu Santong. Boom. With a cacophony of explosions, Gu Santong's frail figure slammed into the ground, kicking up dust. Zhuo Fan stopped, worried for his safety as he shouted, "Wait, why isn't he resisting? You're telling me lightning is fatal for him? That's bad. I don't want him dead. Steward Zhuo, should I go take a look?" Li Jingtian suggested. Zhuo Fan hesitated. When the dust cleared, the two saw something incredulous. A huge hole in which Gu Santong was slammed. But the child in question was unscathed, covering his ears and raining curses. His face was filled with loathing, but otherwise, not a scratch on him. No way. Lightning should be his weakness. Zhuo Fan was incredulous and shouted, "Abominable four scheming demons, keep him busy and show me how he handles the lightning. Elderly, raise the power." Understood. The four shouted and the demons gave a creepy snicker as they shot for Gu Santong in a series of afterimages. Li Jingtian and Zhuo Fan were shifting through the hand signs. Hi hi hi. Hearing their jeer, Gu Santong sniffed and looked at the afterimages with loathing. I knew you were messing around here. I could smell you a mile away. Shut down the array. I hate lightning the most. He, lightning is the little monster's bane. We won't stop it, so what are you gonna do about it? Violent Demon laughed, his afterimage shifting to Gu Santong to land a punch. But Gu Santong still held his ears and stood unmoving, despite his mouth spitting out endless curses. Then Violent Demon's face sank as he held his hand and cussed, "God damn it. The kid's hard as a rock. My hand almost got ruined." Rumble. Just then, thousands of lightning struck Gu Santong. Chapter 236, Invincible Fist. Chapter 236, Invincible Fist. Boom. Lightning struck Gu Santong constantly, smashing him into another hole. Even a peak radiant stage expert would have a hard time facing such a hit. Yet, Zhuo Fan was still unclear if all of this was enough for the likes of Gu Santong. He was invincible scamp, the strongest in Tianyu. His eyes fixed on the settling dust, Zhuo Fan's heartbeat quickened. When the dust cleared, his eyes widened and gasped. Gu Santong was still covering his ears and standing there, unharmed. But his face took a darker shade, out of anger. For scheming demons, how did he take on the lightning? You should have seen it clearly from your angle. Zhuo Fan roared through the transmission. For scheming demons turned into gray afterimages around Gu Santong as they reported in fear, Steward Zhuo, this kid didn't stop one lightning. Each bolt was a direct hit, but he is still standing there like nothing happened. What? For scheming demons report froze Zhuo Fan. You mean to tell me lightning doesn't do a damn thing to this kid? Was my assumption wrong? Steward Zhuo, what now? He is just standing here in the array, but we can't do anything to him. Something bad is bound to happen if this goes on. And once he gets out, he'll want to settle the score. We'll be finished. Squinting, Zhuo Fan said, "Elderly, the lightning isn't his weakness, but he always shouts profanities at it. I was wrong, he just hates lightning. But this 6th grade array is built on a natural formation. Let's use all we have on him. No matter how ridiculously powerful he is, it'll be worth it if we can wear him out even a little." All right. Li Jingtian agreed. Zhuo Fan sighed. Despite saying that, he had a feeling they'd fail from the moment he set up the array. As this was all based on the premise his guess was right, that Gu Santong was weak to lightning. He was now holding the fates of everyone in his hands. He knew there was only a 50% chance of success. But he wanted to get Gu Santong so badly that he was willing to gamble on that measly 50%, using even the lives of others. But even in this case he had a fail-safe. Just escaping was also 50-50. If Gu Santong bore through it as well, they were dead. This was indeed a very risky move from his part, totally opposite for his usual style. "Steward Zhua, I'm ready. How are you?" Li Jingtian sent over. Zhua Fan sighed, and his hands moved, I as well. "Begin." The two signs synced. Thunder rolled and lightning flickered. From the deep and rumbling dark clouds, tens of thousands of lightning bolts barreled down. That immense power caused even Thunder Swarm Mountain to shake. It meant that even the sixth-grade array was having a hard time withstanding such might. The four scheming demons were slack-jawed, crying out in fear as they retreated. They no longer dared staying close to Gu Santong. The lightning this time may very well smash them to bits. Gu Santong, with his ears covered, looked at the thunder with pure loathing and anger. "Gu Santong, if you still stand after this, then you must be my karma coming back to bite me." Taking a deep breath, Zhua Fan gnashed his teeth and his hand sign changed. Boom! Hundreds of thousands of lightning bolts rained down. They twisted around each other and formed a lightning dragon that coiled around each cliff as it roared. Such destructive power seemed to wish for the annihilation of the whole world. Zhua Fan was certain that the lightning dragon would turn this thunder swarm mountain and everything in 100 miles barren. Only the array controllers would survive. He never hoped it would come to this. But he was the demonic emperor, rising on top of a mountain of bones. If he wanted invincible Scamp's power, mercy for some miscellaneous creatures had no place here. Roar! The entire sky was roaring as it came crashing down. Gu Santong felt the sheer brutality aiming at him, forced to squint at the eye-piercing light. His ears rang from the sudden explosions and only now, finally, his hands released them, forming a small fist. Then, a punch soared straight for the lightning dragon's head, releasing an odd ripple. Gu Santong didn't even put the lightning dragon in his eyes. His face was calm, yet the ripple he released flew like a meteor, pushing back at the lightning dragon. Every place the ripple touched, lightning crumbled. People would be shocked to see how it began with the lightning dragon's head, turning it into specks of light. The ripple then shot past the lightning dragon and exploded way up high. The rumbling and black thunderclouds were sporting a mile-wide hole in their center, allowing for the sun's warm glow to pass through. Groaning, Zhua Fan and Li Jingtian spat blood, thoroughly stupefied. Gu Santong struck the picture of a god of war, in the middle of the sun shining down on him from the wide hole in the sky. The two of them were lost for words. Invincible Scamp is crazy strong. No wonder he could face the entire empire and still win. Zhua Fan sighed, it's my loss this time. Elderly, patch up the thunderclouds, it's time to bolt. Invincible Scamp is out of my league. Or maybe, we'll just get him on a better occasion. This was the first time Li Jingtian saw Zhua give up. But the image of Gu Santong easily withstanding a sixth-grade array left him shuddering. Only an extraordinary man could control such a freak. Zhua Fan and Huangpu Qingtian are also freaks, but they have a long way to go to be monsters. Li Jingtian smiled dejectedly and copied Zhua Fan's sign in patching the hole in the sky. They then sent the order for retreat to the four demons. They no longer used the array to seize invincible Scamp, but to buy time. They would never get out of this alive otherwise. This may very well be the first time he and Zhua Fan felt so utterly powerless. Especially Zhua Fan, with his cunning mind and foolproof plans. They all were rendered powerless in the face of that kid. Absolute power indeed trumped over any ploy. But seeing the looming black clouds gathering, Gu Santong roared, "You six bastards, I told you already that I hate lightning. Yet, you dare continue?" With a snort, Gu Santong stomped. With 2 steps, Thunder Swarm Mountain's 4 cliffs shook ceaselessly. Zhua Fan and Li Jingtian wobbled, shaken to their core. But the next thing had them swept by panic. Gu Santong tightened his fists at the side, as if focusing his power. Then he struck. Hum. Another ripple spread everywhere, making everything it touched quake. With Gu Santong at the center, all around him crumbled to dust. The ripple looked slow when in fact had incredible speed, leaving nothing but dust in its wake. Zhua Fan cried out, "The kid's power is insane. He can shake space itself with a punch alone. Run, the 6th grade array can't do anything to him. We can't deal with him. Go underground, there's no escaping it." Li Jingtian paled from shock. He knew Gu Santong was godlike, but now it was no longer an exaggerating description. The kid shook off the 6th grade array as if it was a breeze, an array that held radiant stage experts for tens of years prisoners. How is he even human? They didn't get to make 2 steps as the ripple passed by them and into the horizon. Boom! Anything in 100 miles was pulverized. Once the dust settled, the sight was overwhelming and impossible to fathom. As far as the eye could see, in any given direction, down to the last blade of grass, all was just gone. Gu Santong leveled a 100-mile-wide circle in a blink. As to Thunder Swarm Mountain and the black clouds, it looked as if they never even existed in the first place. Zhua Fan and Li Jingtian crawled from underground, shivering at this sight. The 4 demons came out as well and stood agape, scared to the core. Wimp Demon was holding his head as it shook like a leaf. He wanted to bury his head, anything, so long as it rid that little monster's image out of his head. Gu Santong was an abomination. If not for Steward Zhua's timely advice, they'd be nothing but dust by now. Violent Demon lamented inside. Invincible Scamp is a real freak. We can't mess with him ever again no matter how Steward Zhua tortures us. We must never agree to such a reckless plan ever again. The 4 vowed to themselves. Though clueless they all were to the fact Gu Santong was standing right behind them with a cold face. Bloodthirst flashed in his eyes as he looked at their dusty backs. Chapter 237, Sophistry. Chapter 237, Sophistry. I got you now, you bastards. A chilling voice crept from behind the 4. Their body froze and looked back in reflex to see Gu Santong's furious gaze. Scared out of their wits, the 4 shivered as they lowered their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. Gu Santong scratched his nose, sweeping the 4 with a cold eye and snorting, "Who was it that threw the punch on me? Step forward." He did it. The 4 didn't even lift their heads as 3 demons pointed straight at Violent Demon. Violent Demon felt like kicking these bunch of ignoble bastards' arse, but he was weak as a kitten before Gu Santong's stern gaze. He then showed a miserable and crying smile, "It's not my fault, I never would have done it if I wasn't compelled." "Oh, who forced you then?" Furrowing his brow, Gu Santong fists tightened. Swallowing dryly, Violent Demon squeaked, "It's Creak." Violent Demon shuddered in that instant and his jaw froze open, but could not utter a sound. As if something was shoved down his throat. Then, a cheerful cry entered their ears, "Gu Santong, you're finally here. Thank the heavens, I thought we'd never see you again." Zhua Fan and Li Jingtian staggered their wretched bodies over. While Li Jingtian's face was tense from anxiety, by contrast, Zhua Fan's was that of joy, as if guileless. He even went as far as give Gu Santong an old-fashioned cozy hug. The 4 demons now knew why Violent Demon was choking on his own voice. Zhua Fan's bloodworm was doing its thing. These 2 had the life of the 4 demons in their hands. And offending any side now was certain death no matter how they sliced it. So the 3 demons buried their heads in the dirt to avoid looking at anyone. Violent Demon's face twitched and shivered. He was fearing for his life. Thinking Zhua Fan would take his life to protect his own. Getting out of Zhua Fan's hug, Gu Santong stared at him with resentment. Zhua Fan was startled and faked innocence. "What's wrong? Why did you run? Why did you set up a lightning array here?" Gu Santong snapped at him. Li Jingtian swallowed dryly, his whole body frozen, while the four demons shivered. Only Zhua had a downright shocked expression. What are you talking about? Who set an array? You didn't set the lightning array? As if. You think we'd still be trapped with you if we could? Zhua Fan rolled his eyes. Gu Santong was speechless, the four demons startled, all while confusion predominated to all present. You're saying you've been trapped in there as well? Gu Santong spoke, his tone still carried anger, albeit subdued. Sighing, Zhua Fan shook his head, of course, or we'd have long returned with the ingredient. What, you've been trapped here just to get an ingredient? Gu Santong cried, now his anger deflated. Zhua Fan nodded, running his mouth. Gu Santong, do you know why there's a 6th grade lightning array here? Gu Santong shook his head, a telltale sign he bought into Zhua Fan's lie completely. Because there's a precious 8th grade ingredient here. Someone used the array to protect it. Zhua Fan spoke, to help you get that ingredient, we had to go into the lion's den, and barely got out alive. But thankfully you got here just in time. But why do you say we ran away? Didn't I tell you we'll be going on an ingredient hunt? That's... Gu Santong blushed, fiddling with his hands, like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Somewhat aggrieved and somewhat guilty. They were braving danger for his sake, yet he was here casting blame on them, for shame. Zhua Fan sighed, giving Li Jingtian a look, and the two showed a carefree smile. Gu Santong sure was an abomination, but pure as a child, and more importantly, easy to fool. The four scheming demons were struck dumb. They had feared the kid for his power. But even after 3 centuries, he was still but a child, easy to dupe. Why didn't they think of that? But Gu Santong's shyness only lasted a second as he pointed at Violent Demon with a frown. Why then were they moving around the array so freely, even giving me a punch? You were clearly against me. Shuddering, they all felt shock and fear, with the four demons lowering their heads. Li Jingtian's brow was soaked, his lips dry, and looked anxiously at Zhua Fan for help. He may be a child at heart and mind, but everyone knows the chaos he caused Tianyu 300 years ago. It's not that easy to dupe him after all. This was Zhua Fan's plan all along. If they couldn't hold him with the array, then they'll throw in a play. They'd fake being victims as well, braving the danger of death for the kid's sake. This worked to explain why they were in the array, and also scored sympathy points with the kid. Without any real evidence, even if the kid was dubious, he couldn't just trash them when they were giving their all in finding him ingredients. So, Zhua Fan and Li Jingtian never once showed themselves as the array worked, just so they could enact this play, and give themselves a way out. Who'd have thought, however, that the four scheming demons Zhua Fan asked to keep the kid busy went as far as punching him? Now this was throwing a wrench in his act. Steward Zhua, how about we throw these little shits to the wolves? Li Jingtian spoke with his eyes. Zhua Fan squinted, as the four demons looked nervously at him. They could feel it in their bones how his next words had the power to save them and condemn them. If Zhua Fan made them scapegoats, they'd have no chance at all, except at a swift death. At this very moment, no one moved. Gu Santong stared at Zhua, waiting for his answer. Li Jingtian was also looking at him, waiting for his decision. For scheming demons were begging him with their faces, their miserable and pitiful faces. Everyone's lives rested on him. Zhua Fan finally opened his mouth, and instead of answering, he gave Gu Santong a question. Do you know arrays? Nope. Gu Santong was blunt. I guessed as much. That's great. Gu Santong glared at him and Zhua Fan rushed to say, ha ha ha, don't misunderstand. I only want to explain to you clearly so as to not weigh your conscience with innocent killings. Zhua Fan rubbed his chin as he began. Arrays are graded from 1 to 12 according to their power. As for their type, they are trapping, killing, and bewildering arrays. That thunder array was of the killing type. But it also had a trapping array hidden. Did you notice? Gu Santong nodded. He knew the second he got in the array he'd have to smash his way through if he wanted out. But did you notice the bewildering array as well? Zhuo Fan gave a vague smile. Gu Santong shook his head. You're saying a bewildering caught me? But then he snorted, no way. I didn't feel any illusions around me. What I see may be fake, but my nose has never let me down. That guy hit me and I caught him red-handed. Being pointed at, Violent Demon shivered in fear. In that moment, he was more of a wimp than Wimp Demon. Everyone looked at him with derision. This is the first goddamn time I'm hiding behind fourth bro. But in the face of all this, Zhuo Fan waved it off. I didn't say you were caught in an illusion, but he was. Let me ask you this. Did you four really attack Gu Santong? Shuddering, the four reacted to Steward Zhuo's meaning. He was giving them a way out. So they shook their heads and bowed. We thought you were someone else. Please forgive us. Is that so? Then who was that little monster you kept raving on about? Gu Santong stared them down. The four pointed at Zhuo Fan on the spot, him. Zhuo Fan's face twitched and his anger boiled. Wasn't that saying they wanted to kill him? But this was not the time to bicker with these four morons. Gu Santong looked dubious at him. You're also a monster. Before meeting you, they indeed called me that. With an awkward chuckle, Zhuo Fan's fists crunched and lightning wings unfolded behind him. Can anyone do this? Gu Santong's eyes twitched. I see. I always thought you used a flying demonic treasure when in fact it is tied to your body. You're indeed monstrous enough. That ended that. Gu Santong was still dubious, but could find no plausible excuse to beat the crap out of them. Everyone else gave Zhuo Fan a big round of thumbs up, in admiration for his sophistry, and putting an end to this deadly situation. Zhuo Fan sighed and rejoiced inside. Thank God we met Gu Santong. If it was anyone else, this blatant lie wouldn't fly and would have got us all killed instead. All because they harbored doubts. Anyone would rather kill 1,000 innocents than miss the culprit. This was where Gu Santong was different. Zhuo Fan knew he guarded the imperial family for 300 years all for the sake of a promise. But only after being his prisoner did he fully understand that to this kid, words were gold, and he needed a good reason when handling anyone. When he slaughtered half the empire's cities, that was because others pushed him. He didn't start it. So Zhuo Fan made a heroic, reckless, and gutsy gamble. But even this had only a 50-50 chance. If Gu Santong was still stubborn, they could only resign to their fate and the kid's temper. Thankfully, the kid was quite moral, not swinging around his weight without proper reason. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan smiled. But then Gu Santong suddenly said, Hold on, since you all did this for an ingredient, where is it? They all froze up again. An 8th grade ingredient was a heavenly treasure. How were they supposed to just find it? Gu Santong's glare once again descended. Chapter 238, Lightning Canyon appears. Chapter 238, Lightning Canyon appears. If there's no 8th grade ingredient, then all of this is a lie cooked up by all of you. Gu Santong eyed each one with suspicion. Violent Demon was frantic. You fist-leveled everything in 100 miles. That ingredient is dust by now. Bullshit. Gu Santong cursed. An 8th grade ingredient is a worldly treasure, possessing spirituality. If you could think of burrowing underground at a crucial moment, then so could it. Then it must have fled. Wimp Demon whimpered. Gu Santong snorted, more bullshit. My nose can pick up its scent even 1,000 meters below. How the hell can it escape my notice? Then, it was Sly Demon's turn to take the stance and patch the growing hole in the lie. But he stuttered so greatly, none of his words made sense, despite how much his eyes showed he wanted to. Gu Santong snorted, eyeing them with thick bloodthirst. Humph, without the 8th grade ingredient all you've said so far was a big fat lie. You are the ones who set up the lightning array. They were all nervous now and chilled to the bone. Hold on. Zhuo Fan shouted with a pained face, the 8th grade ingredient is indeed real. It truly wanted to flee, but I managed to grab it just as the lightning array crumbled. You didn't pick up its scent because I placed it in my ring. Zhua Fan's hand revealed a glowing ingredient. The sweet smell it released worked to soothe everyone's weary minds. Gu Santong was dumbstruck. The 8th grade ingredient was real. Even if he didn't believe Zhua Fan, he now had no choice but to. The proof was incontestable. The 6th reason for rushing into the array held strong. What they did in the array, only they knew, and no matter how they explained it, Gu Santong would never find the truth. But now, he no longer cared. With an 8th grade ingredient in hand, what's the big problem being trapped in an array by them? This compensation was enough if he even had to go through a second array. Licking his dry lips, Gu Santong scratched his head in embarrassment. Ops, I've been wrong about you, guys. You really gave it all for my sake. Then, is this 8th grade ingredient mine? Zhua Fan was silent, having to go through great difficulty to squeeze a nod. Gu Santong then took it and threw the ingredient into his mouth and started chomping. In fact, even if you did set the array up, it's all water under the bridge. If every array has an 8th grade ingredient, I'd jump in head first, ha ha ha. Rest easy, our efforts weren't for nothing. Zhua Fan smiled, but was crying inside. His heart bled with every chomp. He got that 8th grade ingredient from Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100-pill meeting, and only the one. He was keeping it for a special occasion, alright? Who'd have thought it'd be wasted on Gu Santong to calm his anger? But it was either that or his life. This was Zhua Fan's first time losing out to such an extent. While Gu Santong was gorging himself with the ingredient, Li Jingtian slipped next to him and patted him. It's only a worldly possession, Steward Zhua. Only by being alive will you get to have more of them. Yeah, I never knew Steward Zhua had an 8th grade ingredient. What's more, Steward Zhua loves us so much, he gave it up. We are touched. The 4 scheming demons sniffed. Zhua Fan glared instead. Shut it, I've made an investment in you and I expect you to pay me back 10-fold at the least. We'll first placate the devil, then we'll think of something later. Yes. They all nodded obediently. Especially the 4 demons, who looked at him with just a hint of respect. Unlike before when there was only fear. Rumble. A sudden thunderous noise traveled for thousands of miles. Zhua Fan frowned and looked around. Isn't Thunder Swarm Mountain flattened? Where is that noise coming from? Maybe it's a real thunderstorm. Li Jingtian scratched his beard. But Zhua Fan shook his head. Unlikely. The kid's 2 fists silenced everything in 100 miles, even removing clouds. So where's this lightning coming from without any clouds around? Li Jingtian found Zhua Fan's explanation to be reasonable. Steward Zhua, look, something's off with the kid. Did you poison the 8th grade ingredient? Sly Demon shouted and pointed at Gu Santong. Zhua Fan saw Gu Santong covering his ears and crouching his shivering body. Even his most delicious treat, the 8th grade ingredient, laid half-eaten on the ground. Violent Demon cried in joy, Steward Zhua, you're amazing, of ultimate cunningness to have dealt with the kid. Tell us, how did you poison him? Our plans have always been foiled by that godlike nose. Knock it off, I didn't do anything. Zhua Fan glared at them, then turned to Gu Santong. It doesn't look like something's wrong with the kid. So it must be his mental state. Li Jingtian raised an eyebrow, but after a bit of mulling he cried, it's fear. How come the great Gu Santong actually knows fear? What? Zhua Fan was startled and Li Jingtian explained, when I was teaching brats in Regent Estate, I was very strict. So much so, some weak-minded ones caved in just at my voice alone, taking the same posture as he is now. I'd usually go on and kick out anyone I've seen behaving like this. Without guts, I was not going to waste time on them. You're saying, he's scared. But what could drive such fear into this little monster? Zhua Fan's heart was perturbed as well. Rumble. The thunder only grew in intensity and Zhua Fan looked startled at the sky. Then a bolt flashed out of the blue and the sky darkened as black as night, as if a huge hand swept over the area. Next, purple lightning began to fall non-stop. Each place they hit was turned to dust, wafting everywhere. Zhuofan's eyes widened, and cried, Lightning Canyon. Correct, this was one of the continent's 3 danger zones, Lightning Canyon. It was the place Zhuofan had been aiming for all this time, the Heavenly Emperor's remnant. Long Jiu once told him about it and has been preparing himself since. But having met with one strange and unavoidable event after another, he had to put them on hold. And now, with a flash, the Thunder Skylark's egg appeared in his hand. His eyes looked at this flickering egg with a bitter face. He felt regret. Why haven't I hatched this egg the moment I got here? Now that Thunder Swarm Mountain is gone, how do I do it? But even if he had, the chick wouldn't be of any use in the Lightning Canyon. If only I hatched it sooner. It would have matured after a few years. It was as if fate dictated it was not his time to enter Lightning Canyon. Watching the purple lightning falling from the clouds, Zhuofan sighed and flew away from them. Let's go. The other 5 were quick to follow. They all heard of the notorious Lightning Canyon's danger. Going in was suicide. The best way is to get out of here following Zhuofan. Luckily, Lightning Canyon just showed up and their speed was more than enough to get them in the clear. But they flew for a bit and Zhuofan looked back all of a sudden. Where's the brat, Gu Santong? He found that the bold and powerful invincible scamp was reacting like any child would in this situation. He was shivering and closing his ears, losing all reason out of fear. Ha ha ha, the kid is afraid of lightning. Where'd all that fierce attitude go? Violent Demon mocked. The other demons joined him, but Zhuofan was pausing in thought. Then, he exclaimed, I get it. He isn't afraid of lightning, but afraid of purple lightning. We were wrong from the start. Hi, Steward Zhua, you're kidding. Who on earth isn't afraid of purple lightning? Even those sect leaders of ours would bolt at the sight of it. Violent Demon laughed. Shaking his head, Zhuofan's eyes were fixed on Gu Santong. This kid is different. The others had the bravery to run, but the kid is lacking even that. Just what is his connection with Lightning Canyon? Zhuofan suddenly said, Elderly, you and the demons leave. I'm getting him out. No, Steward Zhua. Li Jingtian was anxious. Lightning Canyon is about to descend and you'll be soon crushed to death. You can't risk it. Yeah, Steward Zhua, let that punk die for all we care. Wasn't he almighty? Let's see him handle purple lighting for a change. Violent Demon spat and the demons nodded. The 4 demons had been nothing but trouble so far, but ever since Zhuofan saved their lives by paying an 8th-grade ingredient, their view changed. They held Zhuofan with favor, albeit slightly. Zhuofan was gratified but his mind was made. Elderly, if anything happens to me, take care of these 4. Don't let them turn the clan upside down. Zhuofan shot for Gu Santong. Steward Zhua. Li Jingtian shouted, but all he could see was his vanishing figure among the purple lightning. Gnashing his teeth, he eyed the demons and flew away. Let's go. What about Steward Zhua? He'll be back. Li Jingtian's eyes were firm. Chapter 239, Azure Flame Guard. Chapter 239, Azure Flame Guard. Whoosh! The purple lightning bolts spun a spider's web as they hammered the skies. It was as if the heavens were becoming fragmented. Then, a lightning bolt fell before Gu Santong. Zhuofan saw the shivering child among the lightning and cried, Gu Santong, stop daydreaming and run. Don't you want to live? Save. Gu Santong shook his head and stuttered. What? Zhuofan shouted. Save me. Gu Santong showed his pitiful face, his eyes filled with tears. Zhuofan was shocked. Never would have thought it possible that the great Gu Santong's nightmare was purple lightning. He truly became a child gripped by fear. Frowning, Zhuofan showed a particular grin. Then he grabbed the kid and flew away. Wasn't it obvious he should fulfill his request? Zhuofan had been going all this time about having the kid under him, but since the kid was a tough nut to crack, how could he succeed? Only now. At the kid's weakest, the best chance presented itself. This was the sole reason why Zhuofan braved the danger of rescuing him. Otherwise, with his rotten character, he wouldn't be caught dead saving anyone. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, to have the strongest in Tianyu at his behest. When the stakes were high, so was the return. And only through this grave risk might he be able to gain an invincible subordinate. Zhuofan laughed coldly inside. Gu Santong has been keeping a promise for 300 years after losing one lousy bet. Now that I save him, won't he give his all in repaying me? With Gu Santong behind me, let's see how those Regent Estate bastards dare lift even a finger against me. Zhuofan could already see the future, one in which the 7 houses were at his feet. Too bad though, what man proposes God disposes. This time, his risk may very well be fatal. With a shocking boom, the fragmented sky was now thoroughly wrecked, revealing a huge black hole in the sky. Purple lightning fell by the thousand, pulverizing anything it touched. And the storm kicked up by the lightning sent everything in that black abyss. Zhuofan was flying with all his power when a sudden power gripped him, slowly sucking him into the black hole. Like an invisible hand, it wanted to throw him into that endless abyss. Heart in a vice, Zhuofan picked up more speed with his wings. But he didn't gain one bit of ground, falling ever deeper among the purple lightning storm. Zhuofan's anxiety grew and his brow was soaked. The situation took a dire turn for the worst. Thus he turned to the scared Gu Santong. Gu Santong, we are about to be sucked in. Is there anything you can do? Gu Santong had been shivering all this time, with fear robbing him even of his voice. But even if this was his normal state, his first reaction was to roll his eyes. Oh please, you're the one doing the rescuing, remember? Now you're asking me for help? You'd think I'd be shivering here doing nothing if I had a way out? Sighing, Zhuofan knew the kid was out for the count, scared witless by the purple lightning. He only had himself to rely on. But everywhere he looked was purple lightning. Besides lightning, there was only more lightning. And all while the sucking abyss was doing its best to devour them among the tight curtain of lighting. The lightest touch would stop their hearts. Is this how I'll lose the gamble and my life? In the lightning canyon? Zhuofan gnashed his teeth, unwilling to give up for a second. He was still working his damnedest in getting out of there. Boom! Suddenly, a purple bolt smashed into his back, forcing him to spit blood. Losing his balance, he drifted deeper into the bottomless pit. Wiping his blood, Zhuofan rejoiced, thankfully, it's only a third heaven purple lightning, just like Brother Joe's, or I'd be a goner. But he didn't finish his words as a second lightning fell. This time his whole body shivered. His diamond sand and unbreakable body was sporting cracks, and blood spilled from the force of the lightning. What? A fourth heaven purple lightning? Gasping, Zhuofan looked up to see the big hole was getting increasingly closer. And the closer it got, the stronger the lightning. If a sixth heaven lightning struck him, he would be pulverized in body and soul. Zhuofan was out of his depth this time. He was about to die a second time at a moment's notice if he didn't come up with something, and fast. It was time to exert the power he gathered all these years. But the crucial thing was, 9 Serenity's secret record's secret technique could not be used so frequently. Each subsequent use would break the tie between the soul and his consciousness. After all, he was making use of another's soul. There may very well not be a next rebirth. After all, the type of grievance he needed may have vanished from the world. Zhuofan was reborn this time, but regarded his life with utmost seriousness. It may very well be his last. Taking a deep breath to cool down, Zhuofan started thinking about a plan of action. He gnashed his teeth and settled on taking out the Thunder Skylark's egg. His original plan was to use the newborn Thunder Skylark to control the lightning's power, and let it absorb it. Even if it could only absorb the sixth heaven, it would buy him enough time to get inside this place. But now, he only had an egg, that may very well be unable to take a single lightning before crack open like a melon. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Zhuofan held the egg in one hand and Gu Santong in the other, flung straight for the lightning canyon's black hole. He was carefully controlling his flight as he looked for the right approach. Boom! With a thunderclap, a purple lightning shot straight for Zhuo Fan. His eyes squinted and shouted, "Fourth heaven purple lighting." He lifted the egg to let it take the brunt. Perhaps it was their connection, or it was just plain first in its path, but the purple lightning struck the thunder skylark's egg. It was as if it acted as a beacon. But the enormous power having slammed into the egg made it shudder, on the verge of breaking. Zhuo Fan used demon transformation art post-haste, taking the rest of the lightning power into him and refined it. Perhaps the egg still had some magic left in it as by some miracle, it cushioned the lightning's power. Zhuo Fan shuddered but he was otherwise unaffected. This worked to lift his mood, this could work. But what worried him most was the power of the purple lightning. Even with the demon transformation art, he couldn't refine all of it. Some of its power wasn't much of a threat to him, but if he let that power roam around his body, it would only get worse. I have to find the right path inside. If lightning doesn't strike me down first, I'll die from overexposure. Zhuo Fan felt numb. He sensed the places where the purple lightning traveled inside him and his face grew grave. Boom! The closer he got to the black hole, the purple lightning struck with greater intensity and frequency. Zhuo Fan pushed through the pain and lasted so far, but more and more unrefined lightning power gathered inside him, wreaking havoc. As the damage on his organs intensified, blood started leaking from his mouth. Boom! Another purple flash signaled a fast-approaching lightning, fifth heaven purple lightning. This was one power that could crush even a radiant stage expert. Zhuo Fan operated the demon transformation art to the max. Black energy covered the egg, waiting for the moment the lightning struck it to refine it. But the lightning scattered the black energy in an instant. Its power flew unencumbered through the egg and into his body. Blood and gore spewed out of his mouth, Zhuo Fan having suffered a heavy blow. He was incapable of refining such powerful lightning in time and was taking its toll on him. He was now on the brink of collapse. So weak he couldn't handle another. But when it rained, it poured. As if that strike was the curtain's call, another lightning slammed down. Zhuo Fan was now pale, looking at the incoming attack bitterly. His eyes having lost its last thread of hope, blasted, another fifth heaven purple lightning. I'm finished. He looked at the shivering Gu Santong, and patted his head. Who'd ever knew this would happen, that I would ultimately die saving a kid? I mean, I wouldn't be suffering so much if I haven't saved you. Is this my fate, all because of greed? Zhuo Fan shook his head and sighed, but I do not regret it. Few are the chances a man gets at life. I have failed this time, but even if it will be the next time, I'd still choose this path. I only hope there will be a next time. Clenching his eyes shut, Zhuo Fan held Gu Santong close, yet he looked quite at peace. He was a man of ambition, but even in the face of death, he would welcome it with open arms. Suddenly, an azure flame flitted from his forehead, covering the two of them in its glow. It was then when the purple lightning struck. The oddest thing happened. When the lightning touched the flame, it was melted down in a flash. One could see with the naked eye how the purple lightning was rendered useless. Chapter 240, Will to Live. Chapter 240, Will to Live. Slowly opening his eyes, Zhuo Fan found he was still in one piece. But the shock of his life was the azure fire surrounding him. Never had he thought his azure flame outstripped even the might of the terrifying purple lightning. That mystery expert in the Allbeast mountain range once again popped in his mind. He never did figure out why was that person entrusting him with the azure flame. But now, he guessed it was to help him get into the lightning canyon. But for which reason? Was there something in the lightning canyon he wanted but couldn't get it himself? Zhuo Fan was filled with doubts but he shook them away. This was not the time for flights of fancy. That was for later, including whatever scheme that man may have in play. After all, his life was on the line right now. Zhuo Fan swiftly got his bearings, looking for a way out of this thunder shower. But what he saw gave him goosebumps. The purple lightning was endless, and since he didn't know how long the azure flame lasted, he had to hurry. Boom! Lightning fell like rain on the azure flame. From the fifth heaven all the way to the eighth, the flame was unaffected. Only its intensity seemed to have dropped a little. Zhuo Fan held Gu Santong and flew deeper into the black abyss. But as far as the eye could see, there was only purple lightning and nothing else. Zhuo Fan was growing restless from the severe problem he was in. Boom! Suddenly, another lightning smashed into them. Zhuo Fan couldn't keep his body straight and felt numb. The azure flame as well was greatly diminished. Ninth heaven purple lightning. Zhuo Fan gasped. This was the one that worried him the most, the ninth heaven purple lightning. Even the mysterious azure flame couldn't hold for long under such onslaught. If the azure flame guard fell through, they were finished. Knowing the greatest threat was here, he scoured the place for a way out. Roaming his eyes everywhere for even the slightest loophole in the curtain of lightning. But even he, a demonic emperor expert in arrays, couldn't find one thread of hope. It was clear at a glance that a great expert set this up, to prevent any other intruders. This was the Heavenly Emperor's remnant after all, one of the three strongest emperors in antiquity. How could this puny demonic emperor hold a candle to him? Slapping his head to get rid of such thoughts, Zhuo Fan was pushed to the edge, his nerves wound tight as he looked for an exit, to no avail. Facing the endless array the Heavenly Emperor placed personally, he felt utterly powerless. Boom! Another ninth heaven purple lightning struck, marking the drop in the azure flame's intensity. He even started feeling the purple lightning's power on his skin. His azure guard wouldn't last long like this. Zhuo Fan sighed. His early thinking was too naive. It was a pipe dream using Thunder Skylark to resist sixth heaven purple lightning to explore the Heavenly Emperor's remnant. Even with the azure guard protecting him from the ninth heaven purple lightning, he was deep within the abyss but could not find its entrance. The great Heavenly Emperor's array was not something the demonic emperor could just break out of. Even the most outstanding Nine Serenities Emperor would need days to figure it out. But he didn't have days, not even hours. There was no way a measly bone-tempering cultivator ever could pull it off. Zhuo Fan slapped his head. His previous act of defying Gu Santong was an act of bravery. But now, it slowly started to resemble suicide. Because he was now entering Lightning Canyon in advance, instead of later. If he couldn't break out of it this time, then he could never do it any time. By coming here now he only hastened his death. Ah, Azure Flame, you came at such a perfect timing, all to say, I told you so, didn't you? If it weren't today with Gu Santong, but later alone, it wouldn't make a difference still, right? Zhuo Fan lamented, in the end, I was too conceited. Thinking with the Demon Emperor's legacy I could rule the world and even look down on the Heavenly Emperor's array. I am such a lame joke. At least no one knows me for the Demon Emperor that I was, or I'd be the world's biggest laughingstock. Zhuo Fan shook his head, downcast, his eyes losing their light, uncaring of the relentless hammering the purple lightning did. Suddenly, a flash of red came from deep within the black abyss. Zhuo Fan turned his head to see it and found it very small, but it had no purple lightning around it. His eyes lit up and Zhuo Fan shouted, right, Brother Zhou said that he was suddenly swept by this purple thunderstorm and entered by chance. That means Heavenly Emperor's array isn't perfect. And this loophole wasn't left intentionally by the creator but by someone who actually broke a hole into it. Zhuo Fan looked at the red glow with more attention, filling him with joy. Correct, that red light was a loophole and following it would take them in. But if they followed it in, they'd enter the remnant. He, am I supposed to just flee now that I reached thus far? Of course I'll go in and make a thorough investigation inside. Who knows when such a God-sent chance will be presented to me? Whether or not I'll find the loophole again in this huge array is the real question. Zhuo Fan lost his dispirited gaze and turned ecstatic. What's so great about Heavenly Emperor? Wasn't it already broken into by someone? Ha ha ha. If only Heavenly Emperor could hear him now, he'd be going blue from anger and spitting back in reply. You damn rotten shameless punk. Why are you getting so smug? You didn't make the hole, did you? Speaking of the hole's size, it was far too small to enter. Worse yet, the hole even had purple lightning all around it that he didn't dare touch. To enter, he had to enlarge it from afar, and then go in through the red light. This way, the purple lightning would stop bothering him. The crux of it all was, how can he proceed? He didn't think punching and kicking would just up and open a heavenly emperor's array. That'd be ridiculous. Then again, Zhuofan's eyes landed on the curled-up Gu Santong. Kid, time to pay up. Laughing inside, Zhuofan started rattling the kid. Gu Santong, we are in grave danger, with only one chance at survival. See that red light? That is the exit. Punch it, make it big enough for us to go through. No no no, I'm scared of that lightning. Gu Santong held his ears and jerked his head. Zhuofan barked, I'm scared too, but are you more scared of them or death? And even if we are to die, let's all go out with a bang and no regrets. Gu Santong was startled but still shivered. Zhuofan smiled and tousled his hair, his tone softer, it's fine. I'll hold you close. Even if we die, I'll go first. I won't ever let go of you, so you don't either. When life hangs in the balance we must hold nothing back. Particularly about letting me go, alright? If not for your sake, punch for me. Please. Zhuofan didn't voice his thought, but he made a great impression on Gu Santong. Gu Santong regarded him deeply, his heart warm and fuzzy. His frightened body no longer trembled and looked at the red light and nodded. Then, with a shout, he lifted his childish fist and punched. Hum. A strange ripple came from Gu Santong's fist, as if a large dragon shot forth. It was so excessive that even the purple lightning was warped in its wake as it shook the very fabric of space. Boom! The red light grew and turned into a man-sized hole, sending out a red pillar of light this time. Where it shined, no purple lightning dared go near it. Zhuofan was ecstatic and rubbed the kid's head. You were brilliant, kid. Gu Santong grinned like an innocent child. But then, a purple lightning slammed into Zhuofan. The azure flame shuddered and up and vanished. The remaining lightning power snaked its way into Zhuofan and forced him to spat flickering blood. His face paled. Are you alright? Gu Santong cried. Suddenly hugging the kid, Zhuofan showed a weak smile. It's fine. I told you, I'll be holding on to you as long as I have a breath in my body. There's nothing scary about this purple lightning. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth and flew towards the red light. But when he entered the cover of the light, he blacked out. All while his arms still held Gu Santong close. The two floated like that among the red light, with only Gu Santong aware, moved seeing Zhuofan's pale face. Outside of the purple storm, not long after Lightning Canyon came, it vanished again. It left behind absolutely nothing. Gu Santong's two fists at least left dust, but the Lightning Canyon annihilated everything. It reshaped the land in its wake, leaving behind a place where not even dust remained. And where the purple lightning struck the earth, it left boiling lava. Li Jingtian and the four demons sent a soul ripple to search the area but found no trace of Zhuofan and Gu Santong. Steward Zhuo and that devil had to be destroyed body and soul. Sly Demon sighed. Wah, Steward Zhuo is so pitiful. Why did he have to die with that devil? Wimp Demon sniffed. Steward Zhuo was so good to us, not abandoning when it mattered most. Yeah, unlike our sect leader, who would use us as pastries in a heartbeat. Violent Demon sighed in sorrow as well. But soon he grinned and laughed. Well, look on the bright side. Aren't we free again? Ha ha ha. The three demons froze then jumped in joy. Yeah. Li Jingtian's face was glum, his brow twitching as he barked. Who told you that lie? Now that you're in the employment of the Luo clan, you won't get out so easily. Humph, think you can scare us? Who do you think you are, Steward Zhuo? Violent Demon mocked. Snorting, Li Jingtian's fingers moved. You think only Steward Zhuo can control the bloodworms? Think about it, why would Steward Zhuo leave you in my care if not for teaching me how to control you? Shuddering, the demons watched him vigilant. Humph, you don't believe me. Want a taste to refresh your memories? No, we believe you. Just as Li Jingtian was about to do it, the demons begged. Then they bowed with lamenting faces, "Elderly, we will listen to you." Nodding smugly, Li Jingtian glared, "That's better. Now let's get back to Windgaze City and guard the Luo clan. I still have to ask young miss to confer you the rank of elders. Or if you stay in my care I'll put you on latrine duty." We will be elders." The four shouted in panic as they flew to Windgaze City. Seeing them go, Li Jingtian sighed at the empty space behind. "Steward Zhua, staying with you for so long, I've picked up a few tricks. Don't worry, no matter where you are, I believe you're still alive. I'll look after these clowns and await your return." Li Jingtian then followed after the demons, leaving behind the desolate place. Chapter 241, I'll be your father. Chapter 241, I'll be your father. Boom! The crackling of lightning never stopped jarring his ears, rousing the weakened and pale Zhuofan. Above, all he saw was a dome of blackness, with only a hazy red light shining down on the earth around him. Earlier, they jumped inside that hole in the sky after following the curtain of red light, the same one that kept changing positions. Looking further, one could see above the red curtain, the purple lightning raining havoc like dragons all around and towards it. But once the lightning touched the red light, it bounced back. The red light was a haven, freeing this patch of earth from the lightning's deadly assault. Is this Heavenly Emperor's remnant? With a faint smile, Zhuofan was heavily wounded, but that didn't stop the joy he felt. He was finally here. Looking around, all he saw was yellow rocky outcrops everywhere. It didn't look like much, but he wasn't disappointed in the least. It was the person that made a mountain known, not the hunk of rock itself. Even if the Heavenly Emperor's remnant was a wasteland, it still hid treasures. Zhuofan crawled to his feet, eager to begin searching. He tried getting up but then found something heavy on him. Gu Santong was holding on for his dear life, his small face in tranquil sleep. Gu Santong was stirred awake and wiped the drool for his face. He opened his hazy eyes and gave an innocent smile. Ha, you're awake." Zhuofan smiled a nod. But then, another lightning roared nearby and Gu Santong was frightened into burying his head in Zhuofan's chest, his hands holding on to Zhuofan for his dear life. Zhuofan shook his head, never imagining Invincible Scamp would be such a shy kid. "It is understandable if we were outside, but why are you acting all scared here when you know the lightning can't touch you?" Gu Santong, we're safe here. You should let go and let me look around." "Don't wanna." Gu Santong shook his head, holding him tighter. "I'm scared of purple lightning." "Holding you feels safe." Zhuofan smiled dejectedly and shook his head. "Oh please, you're much stronger than me, so how can you feel safe next to me? It'd make more sense if I was the one holding on to you." Gu Santong grumbled and lifted his head. "You kinda remind me of Dad, and felt safe holding on to you." "Dad?" Zhuofan started. "You have a dad?" Gu Santong rolled his eyes and Zhuofan's face twitched. "What the hell am I saying? Who doesn't? It's not like this kid came out of a rock or something, right?" He hurriedly brushed it off with a chuckle. That's not it. I was just surprised. With how strong you are, your dad must be amazing." "I don't know. I've never seen my father for as long as I can remember," Gu Santong said downcast. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow in thought. Knowing what he was thinking, Gu Santong added, "The dad I'm talking about is Godfather. He is surnamed Gu and had 2 sons. When I was chased around because of the demon purging decree, it was he who saved and nursed me." "Did he give you your name?" Zhuofan asked. Gu Santong nodded and showed a bittersweet smile. The Gu clan was a clan of scholars, with every generation working as officials. They weren't very high-ranked, neither held important positions, but they had a happy life. After he saved me, he took me as his 3rd son and taught me to read and write. He wished for me to be a sensible man, so he named me Santong. Smiley face sen equals 3 tong equals communication. I see. He picked up a precious treasure. With you watching over them, their success was guaranteed. They must have been instantly promoted and their clan became a first-rate one, right? Zhuo Fan chuckled. But Gu Santong sighed in sadness, no, I harmed them instead. If it weren't for me, their whole clan wouldn't have died. Zhuo Fan was startled and soon could guess what happened. This child was hunted down with the demon purging decree, and even a mere greeting would earn that person death. Reading all those books must have gotten to that clan's head to have welcomed their calamity into their house. Don't feel bad. That is also fate. Zhuo Fan patted his head, is this why you turned into the Empire's enemy? Gu Santong nodded, his eyes taking a hint of savagery from the bitterness in his heart, but then sighed at the end, in the end I was too careless, agreeing to that old fart's promise. Now I am powerless to fight the 7 houses. You could have just broke your promise. A child's words do not hold weight. No one would blame you. Zhuo Fan ruffled his hair, like a devil on his shoulder, pushing him towards malice and destruction. But Gu Santong shook his head vehemently, Dad taught me the value of reading, taught me honor. I won't disgrace his teaching just because he died. Good child. Zhuo Fan nodded, but inwardly sighed, such an ambitious sapling got ruined in an instant. But all bookworms are suckers. But, that's fine as well. How else could I've had such leeway if this kid was immoral? Zhuo Fan felt like extending that Gu scholar a gesture of gratitude. Thanks for having misled this mighty kid onto the path of a bookworm and off my kill list. Zhuo Fan rejoiced and showed a sneaky grin, you must always listen to your godfather. He was right. Gu Santong nodded, falling for Zhuo Fan's ploy like a baby. By the way, what did you mean when you said I reminded you of your dad? Zhuo Fan's eyes beamed. Gu Santong blushed, turning meek as he mumbled, when you held me as we charged in here and protected me from lightning, remind me of the time when Dad protected me and told me to escape. Oh, I see. Zhuo Fan exclaimed, the kid took my act as fatherly love. The difference here though was while that Gu guy loved kids, Zhuo Fan loved himself. His selfless act in protecting Gu Santong was all so he could have him under him, that his death would be such a pity. If the scenario was instead a one guaranteed survivor, Zhuo Fan wouldn't hesitate to throw the kid to the wolves. Who knew this act would lead to a huge misunderstanding instead? So Zhuo Fan showed a queer smile, Santong, how about I'll be your dad? This rotten and shameless punk even had the balls to call the kid by his name to get closer. Gu Santong seemed opposed to the idea, feeling quite awkward as well, why would I do that? I'm 300 years old. And how old are you? That's too queer. What's so queer about it? You may have 3 centuries over me, but you're a child at heart and need looking after. Zhuo Fan shouted his righteousness, his tone growing soft, and we are also here by fate. I was fond of you the moment I saw you. Really? Gu Santong was expectant. Zhuo Fan nodded. Damn right I am. Particularly of your insane power. I like that the best. So hurry up and work under me like a good little soldier. Gu Santong rubbed his chin and lifted his head, what's in it for me? Why you little prick? Zhuo Fan cursed inside, but he soon accepted the fact, since all kids were pricks, I can protect you. Do I even need your protection? What was that just now then if not protection? Zhuo Fan said, also, you may be unreasonably strong, but far too gullible and easy to dupe. Just think, if you hadn't readily believed that guys like ending up protecting the imperial family for a millennia, wouldn't you be exacting revenge on the 7 houses by now? Accept me as your godfather and I will safeguard you, as well as show the world who they really are. Bloody bastards, dare to cheat my son? You must be tired of living. Zhuo Fan sputtered, talking big words that made Gu Santong laugh, but still couldn't stop from making the kid feel warm inside. With father and son, are the strongest and smartest combination. Did you see that old guy and the 4 little shits listening to every word I say? They are all stronger than me but aren't they still hanging on my every word? That is wisdom. The wise controls and so do the powerful. Gu Santong bobbed his head. Zhuofan finished off with his biggest sales pitch, join me and with my power, no one will pick on you. Above all, you will never have to eat that garbage ingredients again. If I can find an 8th grade, I won't ever give you a 7th grade. Zhuofan then showed him 27th grade ingredients, as a token of my sincerity, these are all the 7th grade ingredients from my ring. I also admit all those other ingredients I've given you were already in my storage ring. Only the 8th grade ingredient had to be found. I truly had to enter the lightning array and suffer untold hardships for it. Zhuofan's speech was impeccable, mixing truth and lies flawlessly and hiding his greatest offense in order to gain trust. He knew Gu Santong cared most about others' intent to hurt him. It was a shadow left in his heart a long time ago. Zhuofan must never ever admit to having set the lightning array himself, ever. I know. Gu Santong took the ingredient, he's hooked, as he drooled, I still had my doubts about you trying to harm me, but now I trust you. Since you are forthcoming with the ingredients from your ring, I'm sure there is nothing else hidden. Zhuofan nodded and sighed inside. How can I feel at ease leaving this gullible child all alone in the world? Most of all, letting others use him would be poor judgment from my part. That'll cause me endless trouble. He's far more fitting in the care of my adequate and fatherly hands, he. As for you hiding ingredients, I knew it already. You did? Zhuofan was shocked. If the kid did know and with his temper, he'd have stolen them by now from Zhuofan. But why didn't he? Gu Santong smiled, to be honest, eating ingredients isn't important. It's the wait for them that I find most appealing. Godfather usually went out for weeks, even a month sometimes, to find me ingredients to eat. He always returned with 1st or 2nd grade ones, but the image of him appearing filled with hope at sunset gave me peace. Oh, I see. Then give them back and I will return one every 1 or 2 weeks. Zhuofan licked his lips, still hoping to not waste them like this. But Gu Santong held them close, and turned around. How can you ask back something you've already given? What kind of dad are you? Zhuofan's eyes shined and laughed. Does that mean you will take me as a godfather? Gu Santong meekly nodded. Zhuofan burst out laughing at the heavens. Ha ha ha, with this monstrous son, what 7 houses, what regent estate would ever dare mess with me? Chapter 242, Ancient Sacred Beast, Soaring Qilin. Chapter 242, Ancient Sacred Beast, Soaring Qilin. In the middle of laughing, Zhuofan's eyes bulged, he shivered and, under a purple lightning's effect, spat blood. When the blood hit the ground, it exploded and left a black mark. Gu Santong cried, Godfather, are you all right? I'm fine. This purple lightning is just too powerful. Zhuofan wiped the blood, and panted with a grave look in his eyes. The purple lightning exceeded his calculations. The part that he failed to refine with demon transformation art roamed around his body just now and caused disaster in its wake. But he had no way to stop it either. This was akin to slow-acting poison. He knew it ravaged his body, and would one day rob his life, but couldn't do anything about it. Looking further at the rocks and yellow sand, Zhuofan took a deep breath and stood up, his face hard. Santong, help me search for anything suspicious. He knew the purple lightning was one of Heavenly Emperor's abilities and the Emperor must have had to have a way to dispel it. He had no choice but to scour Heavenly Emperor's remnant and find that cure. Gu Santong nodded genially and helped Zhuofan up. Godfather, you can just call me young Sanzi. That's how my old dad used to call me. Anyone who was friendly with me called me that. Zhuofan nodded, smiling weakly. All right, young Sanzi. Go scout ahead. Understood. Gu Santong cupped his hands, and skipped away. Having recognized Zhuofan as Godfather, and finding someone close to him, did wonders for his ego, even ignoring the ceaseless rumbling above. Since Zhuofan was right behind him, he had nothing to fear. The duo had been wandering this endless stretch of yellow sand for over 6 hours but still couldn't reach the end. Zhua Fan ceased his walk and frowned. Gu Santong stopped as well and looked back. What is it, Godfather? Young Sanzi, don't you feel we've been going in circles? Zhua Fan looked around and his doubts grew. Damn, it's a bewildering array. Gu Santong's eyes widened and rushed to him. What, a bewildering array? How could I have been fooled by it? Gu Santong pouted. Basing his confidence on his previous shallow experience, he had nothing to fear and smiled. No worry, Godfather. See how I punch through it. Gu Santong lifted his small fist and struck. But the usual sight of seeing a ripple level 100 miles of land didn't appear. The ground just shook a bit then quietened. Gu Santong was dispirited. This can't be. This never happened before, not once. Zhua Fan shook his head, having already guessed it. This was not your average array, but one set up by Heavenly Emperor, one of the 3 strongest emperors of ancient times. If a little monster could simply force his way through, then the Heavenly Emperor would have been an empty title. If he could break this array so easily, what would then be the point of finding some Heavenly Emperor's remnant when I could straight up take this little monster as master instead? Young Sanzi, save your energy. Come here. Zhua Fan shook his head seeing him punch everywhere. Young Sanzi, I want you to be honest with me. You've never been here before? Gu Santong shook his head puzzled. Zhua Fan frowned. Then why are you afraid of purple lightning? Did you see it before? I haven't. Gu Santong paused then shook his head in the end. How strange, this is the first time I'm seeing it yet I felt instinctual fear towards it. At its thunderclaps, I can't help but shiver. It's not like the common lightning, which I hate but am not scared. This was odd. According to Zhua Fan, the kid had to have a connection with Lightning Canyon, but now. Scratching his nose, Zhua Fan mulled it over. Can't be. No one has instinctual fear against anyone, not to such extent at least. Was it perhaps ancestral memories? Zhua Fan asked. Young Sanzi, who is your master to have trained you so powerful? I don't have a master. Then how did you reach the profound heaven stage 3 centuries ago? Now that he stopped to think about it, Gu Santong said puzzled, I don't know. For as long as I can remember, I've been in the profound heaven stage. I had no one to call a friend, looking for ingredients alone. Zhua Fan was shocked as a radical conclusion crawled into his mind. What if this kid isn't human? Zhua Fan licked his dry lips. He himself was scared by that thought. The average human became stronger through diligent cultivation and understanding of the heavenly Tao. But there were some creatures that were naturally strong, like the spiritual beasts. And those that assumed human form were a cut above mere spiritual beasts. Zhua Fan didn't dare to finish that thought. If it was true, then wasn't the mortal domain, the place unanimously despised by all experts from the sacred domain, a place to be reckoned with? Recalling the mysterious expert in the Allbeast mountain range only worked to strengthen his hypothesis. Godfather, Gu Santong turned his bright eyes to him. I'll use my nose. In the illusory array before, I could see through anything fake with my nose. Nothing can lie my sense of smell. I'll find us a way out in no time. Zhua Fan shook his head in dismay. It worked outside because there were all kinds of scents coming from outside of the array. But here, beyond all this sand, there's only more sand. If this array had such a weakness, Heavenly Emperor would have been taken for a fool, locked up and had his cell key thrown away. Before he could say anything, Gu Santong wiggled his nose and said, I found something, Godfather. I smell something familiar. What? Zhua Fan was bug-eyed, letting himself be pulled by the child. After just a few steps, they stopped. He scrunched his nose again and pointed, there's our exit. Zhua Fan found a 3-inch jutting rock. A kick could send it flying easy. Is this the core of the illusory array? Before he could make sense of it all, Gu Santong jumped over and picked it up. Then collapsed on the side. Whoosh! The surroundings suddenly changed. They were walking downward when the change in scenery came and it was hard to react quickly. This place was but half a mile wide, with a black still sky, but the soil was no longer sand. Instead it was red earth. Zhuo Fan could easily take in the scent of blood. Looking back, he realized they'd been walking in circles not 100 meters from the edge. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan rejoiced, "Thank God I have Gu Santong with me, or I'd be caught dead wandering the illusory array alone." Then, some sobbing entered his ears. Zhuo Fan looked to Gu Santong leaning on a red pillar and shedding tears. He struck an incredibly sorry figure with his tear-streaked face. Young Sanzi, what's wrong?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Shaking his head, Gu Santong was trying to hold in his crying, "I don't know either. I only picked up its scent and all of a sudden, my heart couldn't bear the sorrow." Startled, Zhuo Fan eyed the red pillar closely. That look alone made him jump in fright. It was hundreds of meters tall, jutting out of the ground like a mountain. It even passed the black sky. The purple lightning not once stopped striking it, making out a scorched sound yet couldn't make a single dent on it. Zhuo Fan clicked his tongue. What is this thing? How can it withstand so many purple lightning strikes without so much as a scratch? The shocker was the stage of the lightning, 12th heaven. The fact this pillar was standing strong even in the face of this, it was bound to be special. Zhuo Fan inwardly smiled, so the Heavenly Emperor is a fool in the end. Letting such a huge pillar with such an obvious scent, of course someone will find it. Wait! Zhuo Fan caught onto something and sized the pillar in greater detail all while his breathing grew ragged. This scent, the spiritual energy, is mixed with something wild. It must be from a spiritual beast, no, a sacred beast. Zhuo Fan gasped as a chill crawled up his spine. You're telling me this pillar isn't made of metal but from a sacred beast? Zhuo Fan started combing through the 9 Serenities' secret records in his mind. During the ancient times, 5 sacred beasts ruled the skies, undefeated. Not even peak emperor stage experts could fight them. Their only match were the 3 strongest emperors. The beasts were. And one of the 5 ancient sacred beasts is the soaring Qilin. Zhuo Fan cried out in shock. None of the 10 famous emperors of antiquity ever expected soaring Qilin would end up here. And by the looks of it, it was clearly dead, with only the soaring Qilin's leg still firmly planted in this place. Its killer was no secret either, the owner of the 12th heaven purple lightning gold eye, Heavenly Emperor. Could this perhaps not be the Heavenly Emperor's remnant, but his slaughterhouse instead? Chapter 243, Heavenly Emperor's Ultimate Art, Divine Void Eye. Chapter 243, Heavenly Emperor's Ultimate Art, Divine Void Eye. Bang! The shaking earth pulled Zhuo out of his train of thoughts. He turned to see Gu Santong crying hot tears as he gave his all in shaking the pillar. With the shaking of the pillar, so too did the whole space. The bolts of purple lightning hammered the red curtain, wishing to punch through and turn all of this place into smoldering ashes. Zhuo Fan cried out, "Young Sanzi, what are you doing? The red curtain of light that keeps us alive comes from this soaring Qilin leg. If it falls, we'll die with it. But I can't stand it seeing it struck by the purple lightning. I just can't take the sorrow," Gu Santong sniffed. Startled, Zhuo Fan turned to the Qilin's leg in thought. They say blood is thicker than water. And Gu Santong's every action proved to him that the kid wasn't ordinary. At this point in time, the kid was resonating with the soaring Qilin leg and started crying. Is he perhaps related to one of the 5 ancient sacred beasts, the soaring Qilin? Zhuo Fan sighed and ruffled the kid's hair. If you do not wish for it to cry from heaven, stop. Gu Santong didn't understand. Zhuo Fan smiled, it is nothing if I die, but if you die, the pillar would also feel sad. No one wants to see his descendants die in vain. You mean, he is my kin? Gu Santong widened his teary eyes in shock. Nodding, Zhuo Fan continued, you feel unbearable sadness the moment you saw the Qilin leg being struck down by lightning. Don't you think the owner of this leg would feel even sadder its leg couldn't protect you from the purple lightning? Gu Santong looked at him deeply and no longer attacked the pillar. Suddenly, Zhuofan spat blood that scorched the ground again. Gu Santong cried in panic. Zhuofan waved his hand bitterly, "The purple lightning keeps ruining my body. I hope to find the art to dispel it in Heavenly Emperor's remnant, but..." Sighing, Zhuofan said, "It looks like I survived the entrance only to die inside." "Godfather, you'll be fine, we just became kin." Gu Santong was anxious. He finally found someone who cared for him, only to see him die. Gu Santong was so heartbroken, tears began to fall again. Zhuofan shook his head in dismay. He was an evil man who rarely did anything good, yet even so, someone was crying on his deathbed. He felt gratified. The irony here couldn't be more obvious. This godson of his who was crying was gained through tricks and ill intentions. Squinting, Zhuofan sighed and put his storage ring on Gu Santong's finger. "Just like a legacy, this ring has many ingredients. Take it. I hope you will grow up fast. With the natural power in your blood, you will one day get out of here." "Godfather," Gu Santong's tears glimmered, touched to the core. Zhuofan wiped his tears away and took out the thunder skylark's egg. "After my death, you will be lonely. Take this bird to help you brave the times." He didn't finish as chirping was heard. Zhuofan was startled. "Are you kidding me? It's hatching now." "How?" Shriek. With a loud crack the egg burst and revealed the head of a small chick, with lightning streaking it. It looked different from any common thunder skylark, it was purple. And the shocking thing was that the flickering lightning was purple as well. Gu Santong cowered to the side at its sight, while Zhuofan stood agape, unfreaking believable. It can use the first heaven purple lightning at birth. This thunder skylark is a variant. Eek! The chick blinked its beady eyes at Zhuofan, taking him for its mother. It cried out in joy and flapped its wings as it leaped at him. It couldn't fly yet, having just been born, staggering its frail body over and rubbing its head on him. Zhuofan was out of it looking at the blinking chick. Then he cursed, "You little poultry, you got the most out of this trip to Lightning Canyon. A normal thunder skylark can only reach the 6th level with common lightning. But you little cheeky thing got born with purple lightning. I am looking forward to seeing how high you can reach. Godfather, grab it. Don't let it come near me." Gu Santong was hiding behind the Qilin leg and shouting in fear. Zhuofan laughed. "Young Sanzi, what are you afraid of? Its purple lightning is only in the first heaven. It can't hurt even me, let alone you. Once I'm gone, you will only have each other to pass the long lonely days here. Don't be afraid, all right? Come here. Since I've cared for this cheeky thing so much, it can be called my son as well. As the big brother, you should come and greet your little brother." Zhuofan was being childish. He knew Gu Santong was scared of purple lightning, yet he was now teasing him by making this chick his kin. Gu Santong shook while trembling. Zhuofan laughed. I'm not long for this world anyway. Teasing Tianyu's strongest, the invincible scamp, is such a joy." So he put the chick down and pointed it to Gu Santong. The chick gladly accepted his mother's instruction and wobbled with a chirp to Gu Santong. Like a little bro wanting to play with his big bro. But the crackling purple lightning all over its body drove fear straight into Gu Santong. "Beat it, shoo, don't come any closer." Gu Santong threw rocks around the pillar at it. But the chick's gait was as wobbly as it was springy, dodging as it approached. In fact, it thought Big Bro was playing with it and was skipping over in excitement. Gu Santong's pitiful face was on the verge of tears. It kept throwing rocks at it but always missed. Zhuofan laughed from the sidelines. Like a grandpa amused by his grandson's antics. Perhaps from being pushed into a corner seeing the rocks were of no help, Gu Santong looked around and noticed something white sticking out. Gu Santong went for it but was shocked to find he couldn't lift it. This was stranger than fiction. With his power, he couldn't lift a small rock. So he stabbed his hand into the dirt and strained into pulling this odd rock. But what came out of the ground was a rock the size of a man, looking funny in the hand of a child like Gu Santong. What's more, the kid found it heavy even for his strength. Zhuo Fan cried out in shock, but Gu Santong was in the throes of fear as the chick got ever closer. So he threw it. The chick cried out and flapped its wings. Fear was a powerful motivator and actually made it learn how to fly on the spot. The large rock shook the earth and left a meter-wide hole around it. The chick landed in fright on it, and this time looked at Gu Santong with palpitation. Big bro wasn't playing around with me, he truly hates me. Zhuo Fan shook his head at Gu Santong's fuming appearance. He was about to scold him when his eyes snapped to the large rock. He inspected it in detail. The large rock looked like a huge egg, smooth and shiny enough to see one's reflection. But on a closer look one could see light spilling from within, and could even make out the shape of a human. Imparting stone. Zhuo Fan cried out in excitement, "This is an amazing treasure." The imparting stone was exceedingly rare in the sacred domain. It is used by masters to pass down secret arts to their disciples or family members. Usually, the imparting stone would be passed down from the previous clan leader to the next one. The new leader would smash the stone and thus gain the inheritance. The inheriting process also destroys the imparting stone. When the leader reaches the end of his life, he would leave all his knowledge into another imparting stone for the next leader. This way, the legacy of a clan would live on. But never did he think this isolated world would house such a treasure. Whose memories did this imparting stone contain? Was it the Qilins or Heavenly Emperors? If they were Heavenly Emperors, he'd struck gold. It may even contain the way of removing the purple lightning from his body. Zhuo Fan was eager to try it. "Young Sanzi, break that rock." Gu Santong thought Zhuo Fan was scolding in a roundabout way. "If you're going to scold me, do it to my face. I know I shouldn't use such a large rock on a chick. Since you took it as your son, he is my little brother, so I wouldn't cross the line. But don't use the rock as an excuse." Zhuo Fan laughed. "I am content knowing you own up to your mistakes, but I'm not scolding you here. I only want you to help me break that rock so that I may live." Gu Santong's eyes shined and was in glee knowing he could save Zhuo Fan. So with a boom, the imparting stone was blown to pieces by Gu Santong's mighty fist. A multicolored mist drifted out of it. Within it, a human shape appeared, around 20 years old but with a dignified expression. Purple flickered on his left eye while his right eye was as deep as the abyss. Looking any longer, one would feel sucked in. The leader of the 10 ancient emperors, the Heavenly Emperor. Zhuo Fan gasped. The person was tranquil, his gaze looked ahead but it gave the impression it overlooked all of creation. "Junior, as you were fortunate enough to open my imparting stone, you must be kin. I shall impart to you my ultimate magical art, Divine Eye of the Void. Pay close attention." "What, the Divine Eye of the Void?" I struck the motherlode, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan shuddered from joy and couldn't hold back the laughter. Chapter 244, First Stage of Divine Eye of the Void. Chapter 244, First Stage of Divine Eye of the Void. When people spoke of Heavenly Emperor, one of the 3 strongest ancient emperors, they always mentioned his greatest abilities, the purple lightning gold eye on his left, and the Divine Eye of the Void on his right. The Divine Eye of the Void was also the first magical ability he comprehended when he entered the Emperor stage. It held such unbelievable power that not even purple lightning gold eye could come close. Zhuo Fan was stoked. For fear his 2 brats would interfere, he even gave them a sign to keep quiet, yet his eyes and ears never missed anything the image revealed. This was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Missing a single word would leave him with endless regrets. The Divine Eye of the Void is a supreme ocular magical art. Place your attention on the word void. It is another word for emptiness. Only in emptiness can one have space. And to be one with the emptiness is a virtue. After all space is emptiness and not emptiness at the same time. Heavenly Emperor's image stood tall as he imparted the art. Zhuo Fan didn't even blink, afraid of losing even a minute gesture. Gu Santong and the chick could feel how important this was to Zhuo Fan and stood quietly at the side. For 3 days and 3 nights, Zhuofan hadn't moved, hadn't spoken, hadn't even blinked for how engrossed he was. The Heavenly Emperor ended with, "I have imparted you with the 12 stages of Divine Eye of the Void. You now hold inside you the power to make our clan supreme, all you need to do is will it. Regarding my second magical art, Purple Lightning Gold Eye, it was born out of this Divine Eye of the Void. If your talent is not lacking, it will come to you with time without having the need to train it. If you lack in any way, seek out the other imparting stone of mine to help you train it. But if you wish to follow in my footsteps and reach my power, stop here. Take what I've given you and use your own abilities to attain comprehension of it." The mist dissipated and the Heavenly Emperor's figure faded away, leaving behind the pieces of the imparting stone. These pieces had now turned to useless hunks of rocks. Zhuofan frowned. Gu Santong asked, "What's wrong, Godfather?" "Nothing, just that the last phrase was odd. As if he didn't want his descendant to train in the Purple Lightning Gold Eye." Zhuofan's eyes squinted. Gu Santong laughed at the sky and mocked, "What does it matter what he wanted? It all comes down to your decision to train or not. Of course I want to. That's one of his masterpieces." Zhuofan widened his eyes. "Then what are we waiting for? I'll help you search for it." Gu Santong jumped right in to scrounge through the rocks on the ground, looking for another imparting stone. Zhuofan shook his head in the end. The Heavenly Emperor didn't want for his descendant to train the Purple Lightning Gold Eye, but to do so by himself instead of blindly following the teachings of others. And yet, he was still afraid his descendant was unable to achieve it, so he left the training method for the Purple Lightning Gold Eye behind. Zhuofan, however, was not Heavenly Emperor's descendant, so there was no point in abiding by Heavenly Emperor's teachings. Who cares? Waste not, want not. It's here anyway, so I might as well use it. But what struck him as odd was that the image clearly intended to leave it all for his descendant. So how on earth did it end up being taken advantage of by this down on his luck, rebirthed demonic emperor who stumbled his way inside? Looking at the jutting Qilin leg, Zhuofan was in deep thought. He, who the hell cares? Since it fell in my lap, if I don't take it, who will? Zhuofan grinned, and scoured the place with Gu Santong. The chick was skipping around at the side, chirping oddly. "What is Daddy and Bro doing? Looking for worms to eat?" The chick hopped into the fun. An hour later, most of the place was turned upside down, but no sign of anything that remotely resembled another imparting stone. Zhuofan was curious, does this place have only the Divine Eye of the Void imparting stone? Then he facepalmed and cursed, "I'm such a fool. How could he forget about Long Jiu?" Long Jiu said he'd been sucked into the Purple Lightning Storm, and punched everywhere. In sheer coincidence he entered through the gap in the array and smashed the Purple Lightning Gold Eye's imparting stone by chance. So when he was listening to that strange voice he'd been training Purple Lightning Gold Eye without even realizing. But in his frantic state, he forgot the training method to the art, thus making the art lost. Zhuofan shook his head, "I can't decide if it was bad luck or dumb luck." His dumb luck was because of the ridiculously low chance of any of those events ever happening to him. Furthermore, in a row too. And bad luck since he was clearly being taught an ultimate skill, yet, he was too much of a chicken to keep it together to remember it. Zhuofan sighed, then recalled Heavenly Emperor's words. "It may perhaps be a blessing in disguise. Young Sanzi, we can stop now. The Purple Lightning Gold Eye isn't fated for me. Let it go." Zhuofan sighed and chuckled. Gu Santong said, concerned, "But can you alleviate your wounds with only that Divine Eye of the Void? As the saying goes, whoever started something must also have a way of ending it. The Purple Lightning is harming you, so the Purple Lightning Gold Eye must cure you as well." Zhuofan shuddered, felt warm and fuzzy inside. He only wanted the Purple Lightning Gold Eye to boost his power. But Gu Santong's main priority was to cure him. "I may have cheated him into the fold, but he's starting to really grow on me. It's of no importance. The Divine Eye of the Void is enough to cure me." Zhuofan smiled and beckoned his two sons over. Gu Santong still felt somewhat repelled by the Purple Lightning chick, but he was doing his best to accept this little bro of his. Zhuo Fan patted their heads and spoke solemnly, "Young Sanzi, and you too little bird, I'll just call you Chower. Your dad is going to set up an array and enter seclusion to heal and train. I do not know when I'll come out. You will be staying here but don't wander off outside of the light's curtain." "Worry not, Godfather, I won't." Gu Santong waved, his face showing fear as he looked at the purple lightning outside. But Chower cocked its head, oblivious. Zhuo Fan had no time to explain, handing it over in Gu Santong's care as he immediately set up an array. He sat cross-legged in its center and closed his eyes. Months flashed by. The next thing he knew when he opened his eyes was that still purple lightning-streaked sky. The change he felt inside was the only testament time even passed. With an incredible release of power, his right eye sported a golden ring flashing on and off, with streaks of purple flickering now and then. He removed the array with a sweep of the hand and Zhuo Fan stood up. "Ah, you're out." A childish voice came from behind. "Godfather, are you cured now?" "Of course." Zhuo Fan smiled, and turned to Gu Santong, "Not only cured, but new and improved. Now we can leave this place. I will show both of you my power as we fly out of here." Face twitching, Gu Santong sighed, "Godfather, when you boast, at least make it reasonable. You took 5 years to get to the 9th layer of bone tempering stage. How can you fly us out when you're not even in the profound heaven stage? I actually have more hope on Chower." Gu Santong pointed at the sky and shouted, "Chower, Dad is out." Shriek. With a sharp cry, a 3-meter-long purple bird was soaring above the red curtain. The endless booms of purple lightning struck its body but could do nothing to it. Zhuo Fan went slack-jawed. Is that Chower? He's already a 4th-level spiritual beast and can produce 4th heaven purple lightning. But how is it that the 12th heaven purple lightning outside has no effect on him? I was also worried at first, but he must be of the same nature as the purple lightning. Gu Santong shrugged, "Those purple lightning never once harmed him. He absorbs them by instinct and then releases it without any consequences." Zhuo Fan was blinking in shock. "My godson is a monster, and my spiritual beast is also a goddamn freak of nature. Not even a 12th heaven purple lightning phases him. But that's only obvious. I reckon I have also stepped into the ranks of monsters. I may have been called a monster by others, but now, I'm sure I can even surprise young Sanzi, ha ha ha." Zhuo Fan turned his smiling face to Gu Santong. "Young Sanzi, did you eat all the ingredients I gave you?" "Ages ago, and Chower ate half. I haven't had an ingredient to eat for 3 years now and couldn't get out as well. I'm starving here." Gu Santong rubbed his stomach dejected. Zhuo Fan patted his shoulder. "No worries, Dad will take you out now." "Yeah, right. A 9th layer bone tempering cultivator. Even if you did have to heal first, you're too slow in advancing." Gu Santong teased, then sighed, "My hopes are all on Chower. He isn't afraid of purple lightning and once he finds the right way out of here, he'll bring me plenty of ingredients, he he he." Zhuo Fan's face sank. How can I let a son look down on his father? So he coughed to get Gu Santong's attention. "Young Sanzi, how can you be so cruel to your old man? You're making me look bad. Come, throw me a punch. I will show you what I can do. Cultivation isn't everything." Gu Santong looked at him oddly. "Dad, be serious. Not even a radiant stage expert can take my punch. Cut the chatter and bring it on. I said that I'll show you my power and that's what I'll do." Zhuo Fan shouted. Gu Santong sighed and extended a finger. "Dad is so stubborn that I have no choice but play with him. Sigh, I just hope I don't overdo it." Gu Santong simply flicked. A ripple shot like an arrow straight for Zhuo Fan. Gu Santong had controlled his power to the bare minimum, but Zhuo Fan couldn't even take this lightly. Yet he was standing there unfazed for the attack to approach swiftly. "Watch out, Godfather!" Gu Santong cried in panic. "Why didn't I hold back more? Even if Dad is a body cultivator, his level is just too low and this will leave him a pulp." His shock didn't end there as Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed golden and vanished into thin air. When he appeared, he was behind Gu Santong. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage. Zhuo Fan snickered. Gu Santong was shocked. Because the moment Zhuo Fan was gone, he lost all traces of him. Not just sight but smell and hearing as well, all senses failed to detect him as if he was no longer in this world. This can't be. Chapter 245, Getting Out. Chapter 245, Getting Out. Young Sanzi, here comes my punch. Before Gu Santong could get his wits about him, Zhuo Fan shouted. Gu Santong mocked in the end, Dad, dodging is easy, but punching. Starting with a flicker, a purple lightning shot for him. Gu Santong's eyes widened and instinct screamed at him to dodge behind the pillar with a jump. The lightning crossed space in a flash, striking the pillar with a boom. Gu Santong peeked out and saw Zhuo's fist wrapped in purple lightning. Gee Godfather, how can you use purple lightning? Ha ha ha, that's thanks to Divine Eye of the Void. Zhuo Fan flicked his hand, being smug after seeing young Sanzi's reaction. He finally got to show off in front of his godlike adopted son of his. The Divine Eye of the Void pays emphasis on the void part. Its main use is control over space. The first stage allows me to switch places anywhere in my soul search's range. And Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed golden and Gu Santong's ring appeared on his finger, allows me complete control over inanimate items, changing their location. Ha ha ha, young Sanzi, since you ate all ingredients from it you won't be needing my storage ring anymore. Even Gu Santong couldn't help but gawk at the explanation and display of such an outstanding art. This was the first time in the life of Invincible Scamp to show such a shocked face. Won't that make you invincible, since no one can hit you? Gu Santong blinked. Scratching his chin, Zhuo Fan nodded, you can say that, but not quite either. If the first stage of Divine Eye of the Void is so invincible, what would be the point of the remaining 11 stages? In truth, this is only control over space. If space is sealed, or I'm inside another space, I'm finished. Then what's with the purple lightning? How? Gu Santong stammered. Zhuo Fan grinned and his right eye flashes purple. After training Divine Eye of the Void to the first stage, my right eye can open up a pocket dimension. Those purple lightning remnants that wrecked my body and couldn't be removed are now stored in that pocket dimension. To use them at my discretion. That is why I said cultivation isn't everything. I may have used most of my time on healing and comprehending the first stage of Divine Eye of the Void, but true power is a whole other matter. Zhuo Fan grinned, leaving Gu Santong dumbfounded. Despite Zhuo Fan not having gone through immense changes in the past 5 years, training in a remarkable art turned him into a freak nonetheless. If Gu Santong hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Going out like this, he'd be like a wolf hiding among sheep, ready to strike at any so-called expert out there. Who'd ever suspect a 9th layer of bone-tempering cultivator to have such an insane trump card? Then what of the second stage, Godfather? Let me see it. Gu Santong was eager to witness even more of Divine Eye of the Void's power. Blushing, Zhuo Fan coughed drily, Divine Eye of the Void is very hard to understand. Even I only learned the first stage after so long. Gu Santong's face sank in disappointment before he even finished. Zhuo Fan scratched his head, helpless. The kid's face changes tune faster than the weather. But then he said something that brightened Gu Santong's day, but since this space has the same origin as my Divine Eye of the Void, we can now leave this place. Young Sanzi, you'll get to eat more ingredients. Awesome! Gu Santong jumped 10 feet in joy, already back to his cheerful self. He heard Zhuo Fan say that before but didn't believe him one bit. Now, after Zhuo Fan's demonstration, he was very much a believer. Chower also flew before Zhuo Fan and circled Zhuo Fan in jubilation. Zhuo Fan laughed and repeated his explanation before showing his thunder ring. Don't resist as I place you in my ring. We will then shortly leave this place and get you out. Chower flapped its wings in joy. It felt very close to the thunder ring since it was refined from its mother and entered it without complaint. Gu Santong was hesitating. "Godfather, wait a moment." Gu Santong turned to the pillar, fell to his knees and knocked his head on the ground 3 times, tears streaming down his face. "I do not know who you are, but I know you're my kin. I don't know how you died, but I feel heartbroken over your death. I am leaving now, leaving you alone. Take care of yourself." Gu Santong wiped his face and went to Zhuofan. He didn't look back, in fear he might not want to ever leave. Putting Gu Santong in the ring, Zhuofan looked at the pillar and sighed. "Soaring Qilin, I am not a good man, and I do not wish to go between you and the Heavenly Emperor. As a soaring Qilin, you're a heaven-sent ingredient for me. How could I not want you? But, as this child's godfather, I still hope I can ease his pain." Sighing, Zhuofan's eye flashed with light and struck the pillar. With a bang, the pillar swayed and fell. With its collapse, the red curtain vanished as well. The purple lightning above the black sky rushed to Zhuofan like jackals, wishing to tear him limb from limb. But Zhuofan was calm as ever. He placed the Qilin leg in his ring, then his golden eye flashed, right as the purple lightning was about to hit him, vanishing from this world. The next thing he knew, he was outside the hole he used to enter into this space. But the lightning didn't hit him as he vanished again. Thus, in the sea of purple lightning, a flash of golden could be seen on and off, growing further and further away. And the purple lightning could do nothing to stop it. When they reached the edge of the lightning canyon, Zhuofan's golden eye flashed one more time. Whoosh! His last stop was in a thick forest. Looking up, the bright moon hung in the sky, bathing this corner of the world in its moonlight. Finally out, but where am I? Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan tasted freedom again. With Lightning Canyon wandering the continent, he was hard-pressed to pinpoint his exact location. Who cares anyway? It's fine as long as I'm out. He took Gu Santong and Xiao out of his ring, and the kid was ecstatic to finally be out again. This was Xiao's first time seeing the real world, and cried in joy. It flew everywhere, curious to explore it. "Young Sanzi, I have a gift for you." Zhuofan showed the kid a tender smile. Gu Santong asked ecstatic, "What, did you have more hidden ingredients in your ring?" Zhuofan shook his head. "You little twerp, you picked my ring clean of them. Where could I find any? I think you will find this far more attractive." Zhuofan then showed the Qilin leg that was still flickering with lightning. Gu Santong had tears in his eyes as he expressed his gratitude. "You got it out." "Of course. I know how much you care for it and don't want it to be hacked by purple lightning. Since I have the power, of course I'll help you." "Thank you." Gu Santong wiped his tears and bowed deeply. Zhuofan was truly the spitting image of his former godfather, bearing the same amount of care for him as well. He valued Zhuofan far more greatly now, more than even his real parents. This perhaps was one of Zhuofan's very rare acts of kindness. He always looked at Gu Santong and thought how to use him. But the kid's pure heart touched him, making fatherly love blossom in his cruel and dead heart. Gu Santong went to the Qilin leg, felt its rough surface and even hugged it, feeling the warmth. He then came to Zhuofan with a request. "Godfather, will you look after it for a while?" "Why won't you?" Zhuofan asked, but saw Gu Santong's sad face and could easily guess. Gu Santong was forced into a promise to defend the imperial capital and wasn't even allowed to eat the ingredients he liked so much. How could he be allowed a storage ring then? It would soon be discovered and confiscated if he took it with him. Zhuofan sighed. "All right, but you best take care and not be so hard on yourself. If you ever find yourself in mortal danger, forget about that promise. Your life is more important." "Yes." Gu Santong smiled brightly. Zhuofan returned his smile and stashed the Qilin leg away. "By the way, Godfather. It's been 5 years since I was allowed to leave the imperial capital. I need to report back, but where will you go?" At the moment of their separation, Gu Santong still felt reluctant to leave. Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan put on a diabolical grin. "Since it's been 5 years, It's the right time for the esoteric debate to start. I'm going there to liven the mood. Let's see if those legendary Regent estate freaks can live up to the expectation, ha ha ha.